Hello, hello. How you all doing? Not too bad, right? Not too bad. Where am I right now? Let's see. Okay, 1:45. Ah, shit, I should have just changed the time to 1:45. Then I would have been super on time. Where am I right now? Who wants to guess where I'm at? Guess. Outside Morj? I am in Maryland, and this is actually outside my editor's house. Normally I would stream from inside my editor's house, but uh, they're doing shit inside, so I've been kicked to the outside. So I'm outside. That's actually not true. I think that's just for me to not be disruptive while I'm talking or whatever. Um, but yeah, I'm allowed to film or record out here for as long as I don't know. I've been put outside, so I guess I don't really have a time limit. Anyway, we're good. Bro, in an idyllic location. It's really just I don't know. It is kind of nice. This is the this I don't know how to explain. This is like behind his house, if that makes sense. You might see stuff happening over there in the window. I can't speak for anything that happens in there. That's not my responsibility. Show editor. Fun fact: I think my editor, he's also part owner of the channel, so more than editor. But he's been on camera, I think, only one time in the history of Morj. It was during the Reverie stream when we hosted the Reverie, and because he was doing like all the background production for it. People were surprised that I was able to successfully host the Reverie. It's because I I did not handle any of the technical aspects of it. I think he came on stream a couple times during that, basically. Hold on, I got some members to quickly shout out. I saw Sarthak Shingre, thanks for joining. Welcome to the Yonko. So let me do this shout out really quick, which is number one. Yonko tier, you get the podcast that comes out every week. But if you join Pirate King tier, you get the monthly Pirate King podcast, which is long as fuck. It's like an hour to an hour and a half always. And it's where you can submit any and all questions that you have related to One Piece, not One Piece, other anime, other manga, movies, TV, blah, 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 general life. And I answer every single person's question, and I answer it very, very in-depth relative to how much I can do on stream. I always explain on stream I only have so much time because I'm trying to get through a lot of chats. The Pirate King podcast, everybody who's I think a lot of people who listen to the Pirate King podcast, they say that that's the most fun content that they enjoy from me, because I'm just able to take my time with it and just have some fun with it. So if you would like access to that, the Pirate King submissions opened up literally just yesterday. If you want to join Pirate King, get your submissions in. You'll be able to submit the Pirate King submissions online, and you can just do that over the course of the weekend, and I'll be recording it, and the Pirate King podcast will come out probably Monday or Tuesday. So, yeah, just submissions are open if you want to join Pirate King. Anyway, Behenort, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 10 months. Example, Pirate King tier member. Thank you, Behenort. I feel like with some people complaining about Stella's speech, is this the time when people turn on the current arc? Anyway, this is a really good climax with good pacing. Egghead might be top 5. I fucking love Stella's speech. Also, let's get the Stella, can we just call him Vegapunk? Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. I really love this speech. I think the only reason that some people are iffy on it is because the idea is that Oda's doing something very dramatic, right? We're focusing in on just the narration, just the reveal. It's kind of like everything else that was the action of the plot, like Luffy versus the Gorosei, what's happening with Sanji, with Zoro, Jinbei, the Strats, etc. All of that has suddenly become background noise to some degree. Everything is framing the speech. So it's the first time in One Piece history that I can really think of that we've had this extended stint of time where we're just focusing in on a long monologue. I think this is the longest monologue we've ever had in One Piece, which is new to a lot of readers, right? I think with the weight of the monologue and the effect that it's having on the world and the plot overall and the stakes that it's setting up, like, we're getting everything. We're understanding the stakes of the entire final conflict, right? Like, just let that sink in. The stakes of the entire final conflict. We're finding out, here's what's going to happen. The world is going to fucking flood over because they're going to be blowing up island after island, and if they do this 5 times, then it's done. We're all dead. The world is flooded over, right? And we're finding out what we're trying to get to, which is the world, the true world has been under the sea for 200 years. That needs to be resolved because that's where the true world of One Piece actually lies, which is the entire narrative is being framed, right? It's extraordinarily important to understand this. And more importantly, it's the catalyst for the entire world to turn against the world government. This is where the big change happens, right? We've all been talking about a final war, right? This is the kicking off point for the final war. The entire world needs to first understand for the first time ever what the Celestial Dragons are actually trying to do to them, why they need to defeat and overthrow the world government. That needs to be understood. If that's not understood, then you don't really have the fucking conflict can't begin, right? So I think that's the most important thing to understand here, that everything that's happening right now is really, 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 like, I think in the moment, the only thing that's happening is that readers might be getting tired of it because it's a long monologue. A lot of it is information that we already know. A lot of it is important more so for the outside One Piece world rather than for us. I think this chapter might have been a bit of a kicker for a lot of people because at least last few chapters we were getting new reveals for us, like the Mother Flame, the true world being under the sea, things like that. But right now, this latest chapter gave no new information for us. It was exclusively new information for the in-story characters of the One Piece world. But at the end of the day, I think once this section of the story passes, we will look back on Vegapunk's monologue as one of the high points of the entire story, as one of the most dramatic sections of the entire story. I think it's just hard to appreciate right now because we're getting so many breaks. It's in real time. It's taking a while because Oda's having to have so many breaks, right? So I think just a long monologue. Not all of it is new information, but the information that's being shared is crucial to framing the plot of the final saga and crucial to acting as a catalyst for everything else that's about to happen, right? I just think this is one of the coolest sections in all of One Piece. It is just going slow, but that's more so because Oda's taking a lot of breaks. So I view that as an Oda issue, like an outside story issue, not inside story issue. That's it. Linskov, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 8 months. Another Pirate King tier member. Hope you can get your submission in just today, over the weekend, whenever. Morj, I have a good question for your Pirate King podcast, a monthly podcast that... Thanks for promoting the Pirate King podcast, I appreciate it. I have a good question for your Pirate King podcast, a monthly podcast that comes out for Pirate King tier members. So I'll just ask a small question. What do you think Momo meant this chapter? Linskov, thank you, seriously, I really appreciate the soft promotion of the Pirate King podcast. But yeah, I think honestly, if you've got some really good, juicy, meaty questions, save it for the Pirate King podcast. That's where I can go at really in depth. Again, if anybody wants to join, feel free. What do I think Momo meant this chapter? I don't know. Let me kind of pull up. Let me see Momonosuke. Let me look at his dialogue again. In the meantime, I'm just going to pull up another thing. Will of Dofi says, Morj's shoulder hurts so bad he relocated. My shoulder's been fine for over a year now, but I appreciate the shout out to my old shoulder hurting days. Also, get the lights to 100 real quick. Let's get the stream lights to 100. The reason I'm back home, by the way, it's like a soft just visiting family, friends. I'll be here for a few days. Usually when I'm back home, I have to do the shitty streams in my basement. But I was at my editor's house today. We also recorded the chapter review and next week's video. So he's allowing me to stream while I'm here. So we have the good setup. Mr. MMF2, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 20 months. And Linskov, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm just looking up at the same time. Yo, Morjessy, nice outdoor stream, another great chapter, but goddammit, that shit is going real slow. One Piece is really never gonna end. I think that Oda might be... I think the slow rate of release of chapters that's happening right now, I feel like it might be because Oda really has to get this section of the story. It's a long-ass monologue. Oda really doesn't do this that often. I think it might be... because this is such a long monologue, with such crucial information, and Oda's got to play this fine line of revealing exactly the right amount of information. He's really got to think about the reactions that he's showing. He's really got to think about, like, not revealing too much. I think it's a very, very specific writing that he's having to do. Like, very, very careful writing that he's having to do. Like, he has to make sure that he hits... You know what I'm saying? Like, it's showing the entire world, but at the same time, it's all in the framework of Vegapunk revealing information. I think that might be what's causing him to have to take a lot of breaks during this section of the story, because he's just got to be very meticulous about this. Because we all know that there's some One Piece chapters where there's only one or two important things that really happen, right? And a lot of the other stuff is just shuffling around characters and plots and stuff like that, or like various little things happening. This section of the story, I think Oda is having to think about, even if we, the reader, are maybe not as invested in everything that Oda's sharing. I think this is a stretch of 3-4 chapters where Oda really has to think about every single bit of information that Vegapunk's putting out and every single shot that he's panning to, because it just matters. It's like, this is the moment. I think a lot of us aren't letting it fully sink in right now. This is the moment that the entire world shifts, right? That the entire world's understanding of everything shifts, but we can't get all the information just yet. So Oda's really probably having to be very, very careful and very methodical with exactly how he's laying down the lore, the explanations, everything, and exactly how he's framing everybody's different reactions and the effect that it's having on the world. I think these are a set of chapters that he's probably having to focus in on every single page to think out what he's going to include in every page. Linskov asked for the Pluton point that Momonosuke is talking about. The disaster that flooded the world man-made, then Pluton is... I don't know. I don't fully understand. I don't fully understand why he's bringing up Pluton right here. Maybe Pluton's also supposed to have some sort of similar effect to... I've always thought that Pluton would be used to destroy the Red Line. Maybe Momonosuke is suggesting that Pluton could be used in some way that's connected to the Flood? I'm not sure. It's difficult to say. I don't have a great answer for that. I'm sorry, man. I don't fully understand that either. But Momonosuke knows some stuff that we don't, that he read in the journals, right? Also, let's get the Streamlights up to 200 real quick. Martin, thanks for the 5. Looking good, Morj. Who are you rooting for in the finals? I love Luka and Kyrie so much. I'm rooting for the Mavericks, 100%. No matter who is coming out of the West, I would root for them against the Celtics, and I'm happy that the Mavericks won. I never really had hopes for the Lakers this season. It would have been nice if they made it, but because LeBron's my favorite player. But if the Lakers couldn't make it, I would have liked the Nuggets to make it. If the Nuggets can't make it, I'm happy that the Mavericks are making it. Actually, I was on board with either the Mavericks or the Nuggets either way after the Lakers, but I never believed in the Lakers, so you know. Timberwolves would have been cool too. I like Anthony Edwards a lot. I guess it's just not their time just yet. Dick so small I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 5. What under the radar potential interactions would you want to see the most? Example: I'd love to see Sabo and Garp. Sabo and Garp would be interesting. I think under the I'm trying not to think of things that are like obvious because I would love to see Shanks Mihawk. I love their interactions always. But under the radar, I think I would like to see... For some reason, I'd like to see Zoro Shanks, just because how does Zoro react when he sees Shanks using his sword? I would love to see what that reaction is. I would like to see some strong characters. I would love to see Dragon Shanks, Dragon, anybody significant even. Because one thing that people don't talk about enough is that it's not just that Dragon doesn't do anything. Dragon is sort of in this bubble where all these other strong, significant characters, right? Yonko, Admirals, Gorosei, etc. They're all, we get moments of interaction with them, right? We've gotten to see Shanks in the same room as Gorosei, Shanks interacting with Admirals at Marineford, Shanks, Whitebeard, etc. We've gotten to see Kaido and Big Mom. Even in past scenarios, we've gotten to see all of them on the same side as Rocks, like the Rocks pirates and everything like that. We have not gotten to see Dragon outside of his bubble. Who the fuck has he talked to in this story? It's just, it's all, like, Dragon occupies this bizarre space in the story where it's just, like, we know this character is really strong, but it's practically like he's from another fucking manga. Because he just doesn't, he only talks to his fucking Revolutionary Army members. He doesn't interact with anybody else. So who else is he talking to ever? It's just him and the Revolutionary Army members. You know, like, and Smoker that one time, if you want to give that any sort of credit. So, I would love to see Dragon in anybody, honestly. Sunday Pace, thank you. Have you started playing Elden Ring yet? DLC is coming out in 3 weeks. Also, find a way to play Bloodborne somehow. I have a feeling you would love it. I know I would love Bloodborne, and some good news. I've made a friend recently who has, he said he played Bloodborne in the past, and he has a PlayStation that's just been sitting around collecting dust. So he said that I could probably borrow it. So I might, depending on how my free time looks or something like that, I might try and squeeze in a Bloodborne playthrough before Elden Ring, because I've really wanted to play Bloodborne before Elden Ring. I've really, really wanted to do that, just because I feel like it's a sort of natural... I like the idea of playing older games in any sort of a series before segueing into newer, just because the quality of life things and everything, like, I feel like you can appreciate it more when you haven't done the newer stuff yet. So I would love to play Bloodborne soon. And Elden Ring, I will play as soon as, if I can get Bloodborne out of the way, then I'll play Elden Ring. Otherwise, if I can't get my hands on Bloodborne, I don't know if he was offering me to borrow just to be polite or whatever, but I'll see. If I can get my hands on Elden Ring, I'll be playing that probably as soon as the DLC comes out. Because I just want to play the whole thing in one package. I don't want to play through Elden Ring and then wait and then get the DLC. Aether, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 14 months. We got a lot of Pirate King tier members in this chat. They like the podcast, most likely. They also like supporting the channel, I'm sure. But podcast, I think it's a good podcast. If you want to submit your stuff to the podcast, then feel free to join Pirate King. Aether, thank you very, very much, man. Do you think we have enough clues to guess the duties of Law's family of water that they have been tasked with for generations? I would say no. Like, you can always make theories because water's in his name, and like the water's a fucking big part of this whole problem that the world is encountering right now, right? But I feel like, how do I say this? I feel like we're at a dividing line where there's two routes that the will of D, like what the D tribe really means, can go. One is that everybody in the Ancient Kingdom just falls under the name the D tribe, right? Two is that the D tribe is really not so much a tribe, but the remnants of Joy Boy's crew. And therefore, Joy Boy's crew was some eclectic group. You know, they had different things. They had, like, fishmen. They had whatever. Not fishmen. Like, giants. I don't know if we've come across a fishman with D. I don't think we have. But you know what I mean. Giants, etc. And really, the will of D is the will of Joy Boy's crew, more so than everybody that lived in the Ancient Kingdom. It's just that Joy Boy's will is also tied to the Ancient Kingdom's will, as Joy Boy was part of the Ancient Kingdom. But you know what I mean? So, I don't know if the D tribe and the names, etc., that come along with it are more so, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, how much credence to give to the names? Is it just the names of the people that happen to be in Joy Boy's crew? Is it actually various families from the Ancient Kingdom, maybe royal families from the Ancient Kingdom? It's hard to say just yet. So I don't think we have maybe somebody else does. I don't think I have enough clues just yet to guess at, the significance of each D tribe member that we've heard, D tribe lineage name that we've heard so far. Rumbleweeb, thanks a lot. Long time, Morj. I had a few exams. I hope they went well. I know that summer's out for pretty much everyone now, right? High school kids, college kids, etc. Last few chapters were about things we already knew. Do you think we'll get to hear new things before the Iron Giant falls? What do you think we will see in future chapters? So, I think this is the first chapter, and I think this is the reason that this is the moment that a lot of readers are feeling a little bit antsy, like, okay, Oda, can you move it along a little bit, is because this is the first chapter out of the last several chapters that we don't get a new bombshell, right? Because the flow of the last few chapters have been this, right? Because Oda's trying to do two things, right? One, this needs to be a huge, huge reveal that affects the entire world, the state of the entire world, how various nations act, whether they turn against the world government or not. Like, this throws the entire fucking world into a frenzy, right? So this needs to be huge for that. At the same time, we, the reader, already know a lot of the information that's being revealed to the world. The world is playing catch-up to what we, the reader, know, right? So what Oda has done the last few chapters is do a little bit of both, right? So he gives some big bombshell news to the world that the reader already knows, but he also gives a little bit for us, something new for us, right? This whole speech began with, the world is going to sink under the ocean. For us, that's huge because we didn't know about that before, right? So that's big. And for the world, that's also big, right? Then next chapter, he's going into the speech further, and we learn about the Mother Flame, and we learn that Joy Boy was the first pirate. That's also cool stuff, right? That's also really, really cool stuff that's new for us, while at the same time, the rest of the chapter is generally stuff that the rest of the world knows. Then the latest chapter, I believe 1115, right? We get the readers getting the big reveal that the true world of One Piece, it's all actually under the sea, right? That's where the true world of One Piece lies. So that's new information for us. So we're still getting a big bombshell. And it is one of the biggest bombshells ever. And then the rest of the chapter is information that we already know that's being fed to the One Piece world, right? This was the first chapter where we, the reader, get no bombshell. We don't get anything, right? Before this, it was like at least one major reveal for us, the reader, per chapter, while the other 90% is just past information being fed to the outside world. This was the first chapter that we don't get a little bit of both. So this is the first chapter that I think, like, people were already a little bit antsy, but this is the first chapter where you readers are probably really starting to feel it like, okay, this monologue, it's stuff we already know. No, it's not. if you go back before this monologue, we didn't know the vast majority, like the really crucial information being fed in the monologue. We didn't, right? It wasn't confirmed in any way whatsoever. It's been major news, right? We didn't know that the whole, like, the finale of One Piece is about stopping the world from, like, flooding over with water. That was not a thing that was common consensus. This is new shit, right? It's just that it's been so many chapters, and this chapter in particular, that we're not getting any new information, that it's starting to feel like, hey, this is already stuff that that we know. So it can feel like it, but if you really go back and look through the entire speech, it hasn't been like that. I do think it would have been good if Oda gave us another bombshell, like something small that's new this chapter, but he didn't. I think the only thing that you could kind of argue is, like, even a cute, like, Vegapunk framing the Roger Pirates in a certain way, but even that is just something that we still need to find out more about. Will we hear new things before the Iron Giant falls? I don't know how much longer Vegapunk's speech will go. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes maybe 1 or 2 more chapters. I think at least 1 more chapter maybe we get for Vegapunk's speech. As for in future chapters, I do think that, like, it's possible that we might see the Gorosei go into like final, like, what do you call, like, cut the stream no matter what mode. So I do think that they are going to be able to take down the Iron Giant and take out the transponder stale before Vegapunk gets to the very, very end of his reveals. I do think that's a distinct possibility. Aether, thanks for being a pirate. No, we covered this. Sorry. John678, always great to see you. You'll probably disagree, but I think Emu will be morally great, at least more than Blackbeard, by how he's looking at the painting. If he's so clear-cut bad, then there won't be any revelations for us readers at Laughtail. I still will disagree, just because I think that, especially if you look at my last video, I think that while the original 20 Kings may have been gray, in terms of their motivations and a mixed bag, you know, like the Don Quixote family was evil, but the Nefertari family, who also fought Joy Boy in the Ancient Kingdom, they weren't evil as far as we know. I think Emu was the mastermind behind it all. I think it's almost impossible to paint Emu as morally gray when Emu just nuked the, like, let's just look at what he has done while he's on screen, right? He's been on screen for a few chapters. In that span of time, he killed all of Lulusia Kingdom, for the only reason being that they're close by. I don't think you can possibly paint a character like that as morally gray. I think that, like, there's nothing that you can do with that character. Like, a morally gray character would be one where, like, you could argue something like, if you really wanted to make the case for Akainu, you could argue, like, well, morally gray because he killed all those innocent citizens at Ohara, right? But you could make the case that Akainu, where he's coming from, he genuinely believes that this is for the greater good of the world, because it's more important to cut out any trace of potential dangerous, like, activity, right? The potential to unearth the ancient weapons or whatever. He's like, well, what if, like, one person on that ship happened to know the truth about the ancient weapons or something like that? We need to really cut this out at the source. Why? In order to keep the world safer, right? We need to cut down on crime, right? You can understand it's like a very, very hard-nosed, absolutist, utilitarian approach, but you can understand it's coming from a place of what we would generally consider morally understandable to some degree, right? Like, generally, you're like, morals ultimately come down to what you value more in terms of like, absolutes in certain categories, right? Akainu's, it seems to be very absolute, utilitarian, like, no potential for harm to the broader innocent people of the world, right? And Akainu, by the way, was technically almost justified because, let's pretend little 8-year-old Nico Robin had managed to get on that civilian ship, right? And so, civilian ship sailing away, Akainu blows them up. He would technically have been correct, because Robin was trying to get on the civilian ship. Akainu would have been technically correct that, like, yeah, I killed all those civilians, but there probably was at least 1 or 2 people on there that were informed on the poneglyphs. Akainu would have technically been correct, right? He wasn't too far off from the mentality that, like, I don't care if they're a scholar or not, they have the potential to know about the ancient weapons. Look at Robin, right? Robin turns out to be a good person, but it's still tricky because what if Robin was just a fucking shitty person, right? Like Robin is a good person. We, the reader, know that Robin's a good person. The Straw Hats recognize that Robin's a good person. That's why they go to the ends of the earth to defend her. But it is entirely understandable that, like, she could have just been a piece of shit, right? That's entirely possible. Like, what if Robin, like, swap Robin for Blackbeard, right? Pretend it's little Blackbeard growing up on that island. He learns the history of the ancient weapons. Fuck yeah, he's going to be trying to unearth that down the line, and that is dangerous. So none of that justifies what Akainu actually did, but it falls into the category of, like, technically this is a morally great character, right? You look at Emu, that's not the same thing. Emu's like, fuck it, I'm gonna destroy the Lucia Kingdom. Why? Because it's fucking close, motherfucker. I just want to do it. I just want to fucking test this weapon. I don't care who dies, who lives. He views them all as ants. It's the same way he views every human as ants. The Gorosei view all humans as ants. Every human is expendable. It's much in the same way that humans used to view, or NL used to view humans. Man, I need to relocate. It's just not morally justifiable. Those are not morally great characters by any stretch of by any stretch of the imagination, right? And that's just what we saw Emu do today. That's just today. Like, that's not, hold on, I'm gonna text my editor real quick. Like, that's just what Emu did today, right? We don't know what the fuck he's been doing over the last 800 years. He's probably been doing this stuff whenever he can, right? I don't think he's a morally great character. I think him looking at a photo of Lily doesn't really make him a morally great character either. Like, if anything, it might suggest that he's a really bad person who, sorry, something fell in my drink. One sec. I'm underneath a porch, by the way. I have to text this, hold on. Yeah, hold on. One sec. What was I saying? Anyway, sorry, moving along. Yeah, Storm Rave, thanks for the 20, and thanks for this being your third super ever. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Hey, Morj, I have a theory. I think Laughtail is in the Calm Belt. Though, thought on it a while, and it's the only place not many people except the Navy, Kuja Pirates, and Shirahoshi can reach. Also explains Rayleigh's ties to Shaki. I think that's a really interesting idea. At the same time, I think that, I feel like, how do I say this? One, we know that pirates can't, like, if you're strong enough, you can just literally swim through the Calm Belt, you know, as we saw with Rayleigh. But on the other hand, I feel like I've always believed that Laughtail is tied to the moon, just because various reasons. I even have a video talking about it, and more stuff has added to that theory over time. I do think that Laughtail's location is supposed to be so fantastical and absurd that it wouldn't be that simple that it's on the Calm Belt. And the biggest thing is that we've been told from the beginning that Laughtail is somewhere on the Grand Line. I've always believed that maybe there's an area on the Grand Line that you can travel to the moon, and that's the answer. But I feel like it would be a bit of a cop-out to be like, Laughtail, final island on the Grand Line, final island on the Grand Line, and then we come down to it, it's not really on the Grand Line, it's on the Calm Belt or something like that. It would be like finding out Laughtail's in West Blue or something. It's like, okay, that's a surprise, none of us expected it, but it's also kind of cheating in terms of past information, right? Like, you can always fool the reader if you just lie to them in past information. It's like, I don't know. It's like Void Century wasn't 800 years ago, it was actually 200 years ago or something. I don't know. That's not a good example, but you get what I'm saying. Like, the idea is you build a mystery by giving readers clues that we assume to be true. It kind of hurts, I think, a lot of the sense of the adventure if we find out that Luffy has been traveling this Grand Line all this time, only to find out that you're in the wrong place. You're supposed to be on the Calm Belt. Okay. Catching up here. Hold on. People like the outside background. I like that people like the outside background. I like the outside background too. The weather I'm at right now is really, really, really good. Sorry, I gotta catch up a bit here. I think up next is Anuj. Is it Anuj Agrawal? No, Ancrust. Yeah, Ancrust is next. What is this? Hello, Morj. And by the way, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for the last 10 months. I'm happy to see so many Pirate King tier members. All Pirate King tier members, please remember to get your submissions in before, get your submissions in before the weekend ends. Get your submissions in right now if you can. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200. Hello, Morj. You started the stream right in time for my commute, so thank you for being late. I thought I could be on time, but then we went with the outdoor setup. Vegapunk holding himself accountable for Lucia and apologizing made me emotional. One Piece hype is peaking right now. I did like the Vegapunk scene. I was joking with my editor earlier on that, I get that it's a cultural thing, okay? I'm not trying to be whatever, but I get that it's a cultural thing. I get that bowing is, this great display in Japan. But at the same time, I'm also, it is funny that, in Japan, no matter how bad you fuck up, if you bow, it's it's what the fuck are you gonna say now, motherfucker? You still gonna be mad at me? I'm fucking bowing. What more do you want? I don't know. I find it's hard to explain. It's I just find it funny that anything, no matter how bad, it's well, we bow to fix this shit. And I guess it's the same as saying sorry, but a deeper version of sorry. But I'm just imagining Oppenheimer, after he made the nuclear bomb and everything like that, he's showing up to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, is bowing. I'm sorry I made this bomb that fucking killed all of you all. I don't know. I do think it was a good character moment for Vegapunk. I do think Vegapunk is endearing himself more to me over the course of this speech. I'm just really digging this monologue. I really think it's a good monologue. I think it's a well-written monologue. I think a lot of the pacing of it is actually really good once we get to read it all in one go. And I think a lot of the writing in terms of how Vegapunk is musing over things is a bit more nuanced than I think Oda usually writes these type of extended stretches of dialogue from characters. Anuj Agrawal, thanks for being a member, a Yonko tier member for 20 months. Do Devil Fruit users sink because their dreams/powers come from the ancient kingdom at the bottom of the ocean? Inherited will of the kingdom? I've never thought about that. That's an interesting idea. I don't think that's why. I still like the explanation of Devil Fruits that we got, which is a little bit more open-ended and less concrete. And I feel like it lends itself more to the fantastical aspects of One Piece's world. So if we find out the origins are from the ancient kingdom, we find that out. But I think I prefer it the way it is right now, where it is a bit more fantastical. Reda Spinny. Wait. Yeah. Reda Spinny, thank you very much. I hope you'll become a great film director. Thank you. That's really, really, really sweet. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Really appreciate that. For those of you who don't know in chat, my main dream is to eventually save up enough money that I can produce my own independent films. So, still on the track to that. That is still the goal that I've been working towards for some time. J Munn, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 5 months. Ever seen Planet of the Apes? Surprisingly amazing. First is a little sloppy, but second and third are incredibly nuanced and raw war dramas. Please watch. So I haven't seen the third. I did see the first and I enjoyed it, and I actually really enjoyed the second too. First I thought was solid. The second I thought was a surprisingly good follow-up to the first, and I thought the second was a better movie. I haven't seen the third. Have not seen the fourth, but I've heard good things about it. My sister, I know, liked the fourth. She just saw it. So I might watch the fourth. There's a lot of movies right now that I want to catch up on. Dune 2... I still haven't seen. Planet of the Apes, I will probably watch at some point soon. It seems like a fun, blockbuster movie, so I will try and watch that soon. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200. We're almost there. Looking over here. Behenort, thank you very much. Anyway, I was thinking about how My Hero and Jujutsu Kaisen are actually about to end in 10-ish chapters. I'm kind of feeling old right now. Isn't it insane that two of the biggest new generation manga are coming to a close? They started really late in the game compared to One Piece. When did My Hero start? I don't know exactly, but think about how late they started in One Piece's tenure and how they're ending well before One Piece. One Piece is not going to be done. I think most people estimate at least another 200 chapters and many years based on the rate Oda's going. It's pretty insane. Julian Criswell, thanks for the 5. Happy Friday. Who are 5 major characters you see dying by the end of the series? I think 5's a lot. I did do a full video on it. Happy Friday to you as well, but I can list them off right now. I think Shanks. I think... what was this full video? Shanks. I still think Kuma. I still think Law's got a good shot at it because of the immortality surgery thing. Usopp is my Usopp's the really risky pick that I also think could be really, really fucking cool. I think Usopp's the really risky pick, but I think it'd be awesome if Usopp died. And then 5th is hard because 5 death predictions in One Piece, you know what I mean? But if we just say 5, maybe Blackbeard also dies by the end of the story. He dies with a smile. I think that could happen with Blackbeard. It's hard to see. Because I just can't imagine Blackbeard surviving at the end, being, in prison or something like that, watching I don't know. I feel like Blackbeard dying with a smile would be interesting. Laura Caesar, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 2 months. Again, thank you for all the Pirate King members and your support. Get your submissions in this weekend. How the fishmen have been treated is key to Emu's fuck-up in flooding the world. If fishmen were a global, non-hated race, they could simply tell the world this secret. Also, flooding made piracy the meta. Flooding made piracy the meta. Yeah, that's funny. I don't think it probably did. Because the world becomes this open, vast, unregulated, unruled place, right? It's just this vast open ocean where you can go out, be free, and do all that. I don't think the thing is, I don't think the fishmen know the truth. I think that the fishmen don't, we've never seen any hints that the fishmen are aware of this past history. I don't think we're going to get a reveal that Jinbei knew about all this ancient kingdom stuff and how there's all this stuff at the bottom of the ocean. The reason I think that this could make sense, how come the fishmen don't know it, is because, one, the fishmen are a very, very small population, and they all live underneath Marijua, right? Some of them venture out and about, but as far as we know, not too far, right? And the world is a vast place, so just think about it. How far would you actually have to travel to find... sorry about the background noise that starts up once in a while. I think it's some radiator or something. I don't know how things work out here, but there seems to be something that's starting and stopping. Anyway, I don't know how far, you know what I'm saying? It's just one small little village, essentially, right? So they would really have to travel across the whole world to really get a good view of all of the ancient kingdom ruins and everything like that. And I don't know how far most fishermen travel, because the sea is also probably not super safe for them. Sea kings and everything still exist. They can't really surface on the land anywhere because humans will be mean to them. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if fishmen aren't really super aware. The most we saw is that Jinbei in his cover story traveled around and did find some ancient ruins. But I get the sense that it's not the norm and not commonly accepted in fisherman history that, oh yeah, we all know that the world, there's a 95% of human civilization is just on the bottom of the ocean floor, you know? At least we haven't gotten any hints that that's the case. Dick so small I piss on my balls. I think Akainu is a dark horse contender for claiming Pluton. I linked a doc in my AOC here, linking out evidence if you have the chance. AOC, what's on my account? How do I do that? In my account here? How do I see that? Or do I just go to your YouTube channel? I'm probably not going to open this up on stream, so I'm sorry about that. Just because that's going to be its own whole diversion, basically. So I apologize for that, but I will potentially look at that. I'll potentially look at that later. Link to doc in my account here, laying out the evidence. I could see Akainu claiming Pluton, because I feel like Blackbeard claiming Pluton makes the most sense to me, simply because I feel like there's got to be some purpose to getting Caribou over to Blackbeard. But maybe it's something like Blackbeard captures Shirahoshi, Akainu claims Pluton, and then Emu has Uranus, and that way all 3 entities have some level of control over the ancient weapons, all 3 villains. I think that could be interesting. So I do see the potential. Stas Salantiv, thanks for being a member for 20 months. Start Elden Ring now, about as long as Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. I know once I start playing Elden Ring, I'm going to be very addicted. It's just the way it's going to be. So, it's like jumping into an ocean. So I don't know if I'm going to start it right now. I think I would still I'm waiting on the DLC. I'll start playing when the DLC comes out. I think that's what I'm telling myself. It gives me some breathing room before I mentally prepare to just be giving a lot of my life to Elden Ring. Jolly DJ starts this beautiful ass background. I'm happy that people like the background. I don't know. I don't know if you're saying it as a joke or whatever, but you know, outdoors is also nice. Maybe. No, I'm not gonna. I think regular streams won't be outdoors. It just doesn't work. Razvan Antonescu, thank you very much. Morj, beautiful Morj, nice background. Okay, people do like the background. I saw Godzilla, loved it. I love Godzilla -1. I don't know if you're talking about Godzilla versus Kong, but I love Godzilla -1. I haven't seen Godzilla versus Kong. I was curious about the last part, and you were right as always. What do you think? Oh yeah, okay, you know what I'm talking about. You're talking about Godzilla -1 and why I didn't like the last two scenes. I love the entire climax. One of my favorite movie climaxes, but not the last two scenes. What do you think about the fake out death? Yonko Caliber, hug you. I'm not gonna answer that just because it's not fair to. I didn't realize I should have read the rest of your comment before I read it out loud. But not gonna answer that just because I'm sorry. I appreciate it, but for you probably understand why I'm not gonna address the last statement. For people on the stream. Remix King, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 16 months. This stream gives we are having class outside today vibes. Really enjoyed the joke stream VOD. The last one, the gag characters one. I hope you're doing well, man, after what happened with your family member. Do you got Celtics or Mavs for this NBA Finals? I think the Celtics are more likely to win on paper, but I'm supporting the Mavs. I also think that in every series the Mavs have played so far, I've seen it as a 50-50 toss-up. Mavs Clippers I could have seen going either way. I thought the Thunder were possibly going to beat the Mavs. I thought the Timberwolves had a good shot at beat. Like, the Mavs, I think the Mavs are so interesting because I think they've overcome coin tosses so far. So that's why going into the finals, I'm like, I do think the Celtics on paper are probably a bit better than the Mavs. But at the same time, the Mavs have just risen to the occasion every single time so far and just hit a new gear, outplayed their opponent. So it's, you know what it is? With the Mavs, it's kind of like the Straw Hat Syndrome, or like, I guess, shonen type writing, where it's like, yeah, on paper, Luffy and the crew, they're gonna lose to Baroque Works, and then on paper, they should have lost to CP9 and shit, you know? On paper, they should have lost to the Beast Pirates, but every time we get to those arcs and those challenges, they're able to hit a new level and beat their opponent and keep moving on. So I think just because they've managed to do that so many rounds so far, I'm like, the X factor is the main character potential to get stronger. You know what I mean? That's genuinely how I view it right now. I'm like, the Celtics are clearly more stacked, but these Mavs, like, they just, like, Luka and Kyrie, they just keep playing better. The team keeps playing more in sync each round that I see them. I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. Evil Friend, thanks for the 5. What do you think Straw Hats would do if Luffy died? Do you think they would still try to accomplish their dreams together? I think no. I think because for a lot of them, Luffy's the one that gave them, like, their passion for their own dreams. A lot of it is driven by, like, Luffy unlocking their belief in themselves or to chase those dreams, right? Like, just look from start to, like, top to bottom. Like, Usopp really believes he can be a brave warrior of the sea, and a lot of it is built on the confidence that he sees, like, from Luffy and the things that Luffy's able to do. Usopp talks about that a lot in the story. Sanji wasn't even going to chase his dream until Luffy. I just think that Luffy, like, and some of their dreams are fucking bound to Luffy. Like, Frankie, you know, he wants Luffy to take that ship that he built to the end of the ocean, right? I think Brook would still go see Laboon. That would still happen. I think even Zoro would not chase his, even though Zoro is the most strictly written to be obsessed with his dream out of all the Straw Hats, right? I think even Zoro would not chase World's Strongest Swordsman anymore after if Luffy dies, because a lot of Zoro's mentality, as he explains to Kuma, is, and to Mihawk, is like, I don't deserve my dream of World's Strongest Swordsman unless I can at least help Luffy fulfill his dream. Like, he's placing Luffy's dream on that pedestal, and I think Zoro's putting a lot of himself into Luffy achieving his dream. So I think if Zoro fails in a sense that, like if Luffy dies, I do think that Zoro would view that as a failure of himself. We even see, like, Zoro trying to protect Luffy from Kaido and stuff like that. Like, Zoro puts that burden on himself, right? Um, if Luffy fails, I think that Zoro would view that as basically like, I'm not the man, like, I can't even protect my captain. I'm definitely not the man who's built to become the world's strongest swordsman. Which I think is a beautiful part of his character. But for varying differences, I think, to varying degrees, I think, like, a lot of the Straw Hats would lose that sort of passion for their own dreams. Like, even Robin, she was ready to die and give up on herself before Luffy met her, right? Luffy and the type of person he is, he lifted her up from, like, she was telling Cobra in the crypt that, I'm fucking done. I'm not chasing the true history anymore. I'm out of here. And Luffy literally picks her up out of her tomb, where she's like, this is my coffin. I'm done. I'm checked out. Luffy picks her up out of there and drags her out of there into the light, right? I think a lot of the Straw Hats would just lose their passion for what they're trying to chase once they lose Luffy, because they already put Luffy's dream above theirs. They're all, like, prioritizing getting Luffy to Pirate King and hopefully accomplishing their dreams along the way. But I don't think that they would have that same passion for chasing their dreams if Luffy's gone. Or I think it would hurt their passion for their own dreams and their desire to chase their own dreams a lot if they lose the person who they care about, whose dream they care about the most. Cedro187, thank you for your first super ever. I do appreciate it. Do you think the 200-meter rise in seawater would have been the Red Line's creation? Also, I think the initial D is Joy Boy's real name, whatever it is. I think the implication we got was that it was due to the ancient weapons, so significant firing of the ancient weapons that led to the Red Line. It just doesn't really make sense to me why that's the case, I guess. How did firing the weapon a bunch lead to... Like, wouldn't we see a bunch of holes like Enies Lobby? I'm not sure. I guess it's just supposed to be taken as, like, a fantasy argument. Like, don't think about it too much. The sci-fi logic is just firing the weapon causes the sea levels to rise. I still believe that destroying the Red Line is crucial to freeing the world. So I think there's more mystery to be understood about the Red Line, but I don't know if it's tied to, like, I don't know how it plays into the ancient weapons here. The initial D is Joy Boy's real name, whatever it is. In that case, the Will of D is, no, that's interesting. Like, Will of D, Will of whatever, like, let's say Joy Boy's name is Dan, so Will of Dan or something like that. I could see that. I think that's interesting. Attilio, thanks for the 5. My pharmacy manager passed away. She was only 37 and had a 3-year-old child. She is why I make good money and put my mental health first. Oh, damn, what? My pharmacy manager passed away. She was only 37 and had a 37-year-old child. And it's, whoa. I'm sorry. Why? She's the reason you make good money and put... I'm sorry. Oh, I see your manager, your boss. I'm sorry about that, man. I'm really sorry about that. I'm happy that you had a good relationship with your boss. A lot of people don't have that, but yeah, I'm sorry you lost someone that was important to you. Hopefully, life stays good for you. Hopefully, you're able to keep your job and everything like that. But I'm sorry about your loss. Jing Freaks, thanks a lot. This chapter confirms Akainu's pent-up anger on world government. I've heard varying things. Like, some people said that the actual Japanese translations indicate that Akainu's mad at the world government. When I read the chapter, I was like, is Akainu mad at Vegapunk? Who's he mad at here? I didn't fully understand. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. Vegapunk throwing shade at Roger is funny to me. Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of readers pick that up and be like, also throwing shade at Roger. I don't know how I think we need some more understanding of Roger. I think Roger's backstory, which is coming with the whole God Valley stuff, will shed light on this. So I'm excited for the Rock's backstory, hopefully coming soon. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Behenort, thank you very much. Emu will be evil, but we will understand them and their motives more, and they will have depth, in my opinion. I think Emu will represent a wrong ideology, and that will tell us a lot about One Piece's final messaging. I just don't know if that's going to be the case, because to me, I doubt that Emu is any deeper than, let's say, Saturn, right? I do think that Saturn, the Gorosei are all offshoots of Emu's ideology. I genuinely believe that Emu is set up to be more so a character that is closer to an NL than anything else. He genuinely believes that like the best we could get for Emu is maybe something like Doflamingo, where maybe there is a sad backstory, something like that, but there's zero justification for how Doflamingo is in the modern day and what he becomes, in that Doflamingo is literally like, you all are just ants and puppets and stuff to be controlled and ruled by me, I'll just kill you all, I don't give a fuck, ha ha ha, right? There's not going to be any moral gray to who Emu is today. I just don't think there is. The same way there's no moral grade to Doflamingo. Doflamingo's just arguably the worst character we've ever had in One Piece next to Enel, right? It just doesn't make sense. You can't have a morally great character that wipes out, that commits genocide at the push of a button just because they feel like it for however long. You can't have a morally great character who literally plans on wiping out the entire planet and flooding over the world just so that they shut people up. You can't have a morally great character who has been ruling the world as the authoritarian, immortal dictator for the last 800 years and has done genocides anytime somebody fucking bothers them or threatens to unveil what a shitty person they are. That's not a morally great character. Understanding their motives more, I just don't think, like, Blackbeard's a character where you want to understand his motives more. With Emu, what more is there to understand about his motives other than he seems to, like, it's the standard bad guy motive, right? Which is, I want to rule the world, I want to be in charge of everything, and I don't want anyone to fucking, like, try and mess with my status as ruler of the world, so I'll just kill everybody who does, right? What motive, is, when we try to get to deeper motives, right, for characters, usually there's something to it, right? Like, I'm trying to, let's use an example everyone knows, right? Thanos. Why is Thanos trying to kill half the universe, right? There's a reason, which is that it's for the greater good because the universe, blah, 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 too many resources, etc. Need to cut all that shit in half, yada, 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 right? You can understand the motives to some degree there, right? Emu, that's not the fucking case. It's everything we've seen of the character so far, it's pretty much identical to NL, which is just God complex, wants absolute power, absolute control, views every other human as basically some ant to be squashed, doesn't matter. Especially if you consider that the Gorosei may be representations of Emu or creations by Emu. Just looking at the way Saturn talks, there's no depth to the motive there. It's just, we're gods, we do whatever the fuck we want, we kill whoever we want, y'all are not, so you die, right? And if you bother us, try and get in our way, you die. I really don't think that Emu is set up to be a Blackbeard-esque or even a Kainu-esque level of depth of character. But I think we'll see. I do think Emu, representing a wrong ideology, that's complicated because, again, you have a character like Kaido where you can kind of understand the ideology where it's state of nature, might makes right, that sort of thing, want to create a world where no classes exist, only the strong rule, etc. But there's still some logic to it, some moral logic to it, which is well, we want to get rid of classes because that's bad, but I want the strong to be able to exercise their power and be able to rise up in the world, and it values meritocracy, kind of the way the Beast Pirates themselves work internally. So you can kind of see that there. When you get to the idea of well, my ideology is I just want to rule the entire world and have absolute power and just do whatever the fuck I want and kill whoever I want. At that point, it's not really an ideology. It's just God complex, typical, all-powerful, evil bad guy stuff, right? I don't think necessarily... There's no discernible ideology to Emu that would ever make sense for anything that's been done so far, you know? Sean Easton, thanks for the 5. The 200 meters rise in sea level happened IRL. Meltwater Pulse 1b caused the sea level to rise over several thousand years. What are you looking at? What am I looking at? Are you talking about when I was looking up there? In case you don't know, I don't know if that's what you're referencing, but right now I'm outside my editor's house. Above me is the second level, which is a porch, and the porch, somebody was up on the porch, I assume one of his family members, and there was they were doing something. I don't know if they were sweeping or something, but there was dust and stuff coming down, which was throwing me off. So that was basically what I was looking at, if you're confused by that. I'm not just looking up at the sky. There's no sky up there. There's a porch. The 200 meter rise in sea level. I didn't know that. Meltwater Pulse 1b. I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to look into that later. That's interesting. Hold on, let me keep scrolling. I saw from Justin Holland a second ago. Hold on, I got to refresh this. Where are we at? Justin Holland, thanks a lot. Will Luffy be globally revealed as the new Joy Boy? Now there's a B. There's dangers to streaming outside. There's dust coming down from above, bees and shit. Will Luffy be globally revealed as the new Joy Boy? Akainu is shown to be a smart cookie, so maybe attacking the Elders directly won't be the only plan he has in mind, or his only focus. Will Elbaf be huge? I don't know if Luffy will be revealed. Luffy is the new Joy Boy. I don't know. I think that's very difficult to say. Because everyone's seen the image. People know that Luffy's power is stretching, maybe. I don't know if in this speech Vegapunk's going to reveal that. I don't know if Vegapunk himself even believes that Luffy's the new Joy Boy. He just knows that Luffy is the Nika fruit. I do think that Akainu's not just going to do a frontal assault either. If he does rebel, I think that it'll be more calculated and tactical. Somebody earlier mentioned he might go after Pluton or an ancient weapon. Will Elbaf be huge? I do think still that Elbaf might be a tighter arc than Egghead, because Egghead turned out to be a huge arc. I wonder if Elbaf will be more tightly focused on characters and Shanks, maybe Blackbeard as well. But you never know, because now the story's really spiraling. I wouldn't be surprised if Elbaf itself, the events of that arc, are more tightly focused, and the outside world events happening concurrently are really crazy. So it could be a big arc in that sense. Razvan Antonescu, thanks a lot. Can the D come from the name of Joy Boy's pirate crew, like the Dave Pirates or something? Gomu Gomu no hug you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate the hug. Yeah, people have been talking about that. I still think that it's very, very valid that the will of D is just the will of Joy Boy's crew. So I think that that's possible. Type 35, thanks for the 5. The only way Emu is morally gray is if he is something like a child or weird AI thing. I've heard the weird AI. I think going back to like Hidden Islands theory, I think the weird AI thing is a possibility. Like a child, I would still view Emu as shitty, because like Big Mom is like a overgrown child, but I still view her as like one of the worst characters in the series, but it's more understandable. But I don't think Emu is like a child. I think Emu is, like, the problem is that Emu is one of the 20 kings, right? And I do think that Emu, no, I don't know, it's hard to say. Let's wait and see, I think so far from what we've seen of Emu, I don't feel like it's the same vibe I'm getting from like Big Mom. It's just kind of like demented, removed from reality, never matured or anything. Emu seems like a very sharp, calculated person so far. JP, thanks for the 10. Caribou simply overheard Robin relaying info, and now Blackbeard is on the verge of obtaining an ancient weapon. It's definitely the type of scenario people like Akainu are probably worried about. That's true. Like, Akainu's a bad person, but like, if we want to get back to the morally gray stuff, there is technical truth to, if you want to get very absolutist, very like, absolutely make sure that there is no, no chance of ancient weapons being unearthed that would harm the greater populace of the world, then yeah, you would want to wipe out, like, technically you would want to wipe out every single person on Ohara, because you are right, like, Robin's existence, even though she herself is not looking to do evil stuff and unearth the ancient weapons or whatever, Robin found out about an ancient weapon, and somebody else overheard her and found out, and now that person's going to take it to Blackbeard, so ultimately the butterfly effect of even one seemingly innocent child escaping from Ohara is going to put the world in danger. It's also going to lead to the world being saved, but that's because One Piece is a story, so it's romantic. Like, it's going to have the romantic positive outcome where, like, Robin leads to the world being saved, but logically you can technically understand why even, like, why that information could go a whole bunch of different other ways, right? Marcus pressing, Emu showing us what it's like to lose a bad bitch. Ooh, thanks for the 5. Water represents the subconscious mind and the origin point for dreams/devil fruits. Going back to the source dissipates their cohesion/strength. So more, I could see that. No, that is a very interesting idea. I wonder if that's something that's supposed to be viewed as more like subtext, or if that's something that's actually going to be outright stated in the story at some point. Marquez Perez, thanks for the 5. Have never wanted to know what One Piece is more than I do now. Seeing Rayleigh and Crocus's reactions, those who knew the truth just laughed. Yeah, because, like, the idea of, like, the world being connected by giant, like, we now know that the world is giant continents, right? So what is the One Piece? Because even if that's not the big reveal, I really don't know what it actually is going to be at the end of the day. JK Kane, thanks for the 2. Who's got the eye patch, Joy Boy or Rocks? I think it could be Rocks, or Luffy ends up losing an eye and getting an eye patch. That's an offshoot speculative possibility, but I think that might be a thing. Razvan Antonescu, about your movie, do you already have a story in mind? What can you tell us about it? Has Vegapunk exceeded your expectations? Mother Flame hug you. I'm sorry, I'm not going to share anything, but I do have I have a few different things, like, it depends on budget. So I have a few different story ideas that I would like to do depending on the budget that I would be able to accumulate and what would be realistically possible. So I'll leave it at that. I would rather not share anything. Just, I don't know, I'm the type, I like to keep anything that I would like to do creatively, like the actual concept of it, I like keeping to myself just because, I don't know, I honestly haven't shared with anybody in real life the type of stories that I want to tell. So I just like doing that. I'm just private with that, I suppose. But I have a few different ideas that I would like to do depending on where I'm able to hit budget. And maybe I'm able to do the smallest project first, and maybe if I am able to get some backing after that, then I can do something bigger. But I don't know. Has Vegapunk exceeded my expectations? Vegapunk, the character himself, hasn't necessarily ever exceeded my expectations from like how excited we used to be about the concept of Vegapunk like back in the day. But I think the impact that he's having in the story in terms of being the person to reveal the truth to the entire world, I would have never guessed that. And like this 3-4 chapter long individual monologue, never expected that either. That's kind of blowing me away as well. So it's a mixed bag. Strahd Chaco, thanks for the 5. If I gave you money to make your movie, but you could never read/watch One Piece again and can't know the ending, would you do it? You make no money off the movie, but it can kickstart career. Yeah, bluntly, yes, I would. Because and that would be a no-brainer for me, because as much as I love One Piece, I think I would sacrifice like any piece of like media that I enjoy. Like you could wipe off One Piece and literally every other series that I watch, read, enjoy, video game or whatever. You could wipe all those off the map and be like, you could never play this game again. You could never watch/read One Piece again. No Chainsaw Man. No whatever. Like any series, right? No anime manga that I'm already following can I find out the ending. I can never play my favorite video game again. I can never try Bloodborne, can never try Elden Ring. You can wipe all of those off the board. I would take that deal probably in a heartbeat if I'm allowed to just free reign make any movie that I want. Whether it's good, bad, whatever. Yeah, because that's just more important to me at the end of the day. Jesuits Buell, thanks a lot. What do you think of the strategical location of Fishman Island? Right on Morj, the only place where Emu cannot fire the weapon. Oh, that's a really good point, and thanks for your first super. What a great point for your first super. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The only place Emu cannot fire the weapon. I don't know if that's why it's there, but that is a really, really interesting point. I also think that's why the final battle of One Piece is going to be on Morj, because the weapon can't be fired there. So Emu's going to have to pull out he's going to have to put up his dukes and actually fight it out. I do think Fishman Island being there, I don't know if that's what the reason it is, but I do think like destruction of the Red Line is going to be a thing at the end, so that's why Oda like narratively wants to put Fishman Island there. He can create the whole prophecy of like at the end of the story Luffy's going to destroy Fishman Island. I think it's going to be destroying the Red Line, things like that. Also, Fishman Island narratively just had to be there so that, the halfway point of the story has to be when we hit the Red Line, which means the Red Line, you got to put Fishman Island underneath it so that we can go there at the halfway point of the story, stuff like that. Let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Manifest Joe, thank you for being a Pirate King tier member for 19 months, man. Holy shit. I think the fact that Arlong's whole plan revolved around using Nami's skill to map the sea after they scouted implies the fishmen definitely don't know about the sunken continent. Oh, that's a really good point, too. Like... Yeah, that's a really fucking good point. Because the fishmen, they should be logically able to travel anywhere, but Arlong's not even that familiar with East Blue at the end of the day. He wants a navigator. Because I think, view it like this, right? For the fishmen, being able to travel the ocean, they're able to do that in the same manner that, UI, etc., we're able to walk anywhere on land, right? But just because we can technically walk anywhere on land, like, if you have a small village of people... you drop them in the center of America, they're not going to be able to walk, you can technically, over time they discovered all of America, right? But just how much, do you get what I'm saying? You're not able to actually just explore the whole continent by foot, right? Realistically, you're not going to venture that far off from your native village or anything, So just because the Fishman people technically can explore the entire planet by, through the ocean, doesn't mean they have, because it's just the same way that how far do people back in the olden days even walk outside of their village? Like, how long does it take for them to travel to different areas and everything? I also think that the government is probably pretty strict with the restrictions on the fishmen, because Fishman Island exists under Morj, where they can be monitored and everything like that. if the fishermen people had the means to just up and like go wherever the fuck they wanted on the planet, why wouldn't they have just made more villages or more settlements across the ocean? I get the sense that the fishermen people are fairly, they stay to where they're supposed to be for the most part, I think. Large Caesar, thanks a lot. Don't think the fishermen know the truth either. I'm saying they're kept on Fishman Island not to find out the secret and hated to not spread the secret. I'm so sorry I misinterpreted your comment. It makes sense what you're saying now. I would agree that they're kept in a bubble so that they can't spread out throughout the entire world. That makes sense. That's why most of the fishermen that we see outside of Fishman Island are pirates who are not supposed to be doing shit like Arlong, right? Arlong's not even supposed to be out there in East Blue. Tom is the only dude that I think was like okayed, I suppose, probably because he was such a fucking good shipwright to be outside of Fishman Island that we really saw. Dilemma Dome, thanks for the 5. If Luca goes all the way, you got to do a Bollywood dance. Love the content, man. Thanks, and that's your first super. I appreciate it. I will probably not be doing... Dilemma Dome is your name, sorry. I'll not be doing a Bollywood dance, but I'll be doing a Bollywood dance inside my head if Luca and the Mavs go all the way, for sure. Bape124, welcome to the Yonko. Thank you very, very much for joining. You get the weekly podcast. Weekly podcast for this week actually just came out. They come out every Friday. There's also the Pirate King tier, if you would like to explore that, where you can submit any question that you would like, and I will answer it in depth over the course of the hour and a half long podcast that'll be coming out at the start of next week. Submission forms are up, so if you would like to check that out, you can join Pirate King tier. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. New X7, thanks for the 2. Zunisha is Chopper, and what? Ank R is Frankie of... Ancient Robot is Frankie of Joy Boy Crew. I'm trying not to ascribe like specific roles to everybody that we're seeing that was likely part of Joy Boy's crew just yet, because I don't want to get it too tight to like Luffy and the Straw Hats. I remember when we started learning about Odin and his scabbards, I started trying to like piece back like, oh, this guy was like the Zoro of Odin's like retainer bunch, and this guy like Kinemon was like the Sanji or something, like, and then quickly I was like, no, it doesn't add up like that. Same thing with Roger's crew. At first it was like, okay, really is like the Zoro of Roger's crew. I suppose Scopper Gaban is like the Sanji of Roger's crew. But then as it went a little bit further, it's like, okay, I don't know. We don't know enough about this crew. It's too hard to say how closely certain things are supposed to mirror other things. So I'm just trying to leave it. For the moment, I'm trying to leave it. But I would not be surprised if the parallels are supposed to be there. I'm just not going to read too much into it yet. JWP, thanks for the 5. This stream started at 1:30, lol. It started close, 1:45. Oh yeah, Mavs in 5, BTW watching the fourth quarter of a Mavs game. It just feels like Kyrie and Luka are going to win every time. They didn't do it in Game 4, which I was surprised by. I thought they would have closed it out Game 4, but that's probably why they came out, like Luka came out really swinging Game 5. I do think Kyrie and Luka are the two, like, they're the two best closers you could ask for right now out of the two teams, Celtics and Mavs. I just think that the Celtics are, the talent level is, like, they just have, like, five players that are all close to all-star level at minimum, right? You could see any of those 5 being all-stars, and obviously Tatum and Jaylen Brown are, like, clear all-stars, all-NBA caliber players, right? Whereas the Mavs, it's just Luka and Kyrie, so it's tricky. So, yeah, I think that they can clutch it out, generally, but at the same time, Celtics defense, it's better perimeter defense than anything that they've faced so far. So even for Luka and Kyrie, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to just clutch and close things out. Like, Luka's not going to get to cook Rudy Gobert for, like, a game winner against the Celtics. You know, he's going to have different... like, really good perimeter defense across the board. There's no easy matchups, no easy switches for him, period, outside of, I guess, like, against a big. Yeah, it's tricky. I want to believe, though. I definitely want to believe. I think it's doable. Dick so small, I piss on my balls. The Gors have wanted to keep the ancient weapons buried, so maybe they're not actually the ones who want the world to flood. I think they just don't... I don't think they know where the other ancient weapons are. I don't think they know where the other ancient weapons are. They haven't been able to use Uranus to try and keep flooding the world because they didn't have access to Mother Flames before this, right? You need the Mother Flames to fire it. I don't think they knew that the other ancient weapons are in Wano, or that Poseidon is the next ancient weapon. Yeah, I think they just didn't have access to them. they wanted to keep them. They didn't want other people to find out where the ancient weapons are, right? However, that's not to say that they don't want the ancient weapons, because if you recall, like, Spandam in the Enies Lobby arc, he was very excited to bring, like, the blueprints of Pluton. Like, they wanted that shit. They wanted the blueprints of Pluton for the world government and everything like that. They would like to have ancient weapons. Their fear is other people unearthing ancient weapons, because the only thing that could really take down the world government is ancient weapons, right? Like, none of the Yonko or anybody else has really the power to do it, but ancient weapons could be enough to really take them down. And again, this was during a period of time that, like, they couldn't have used their own ancient weapon, Uranus, because they didn't have the Mother Flame. NewX7, thanks for the 2. Joyboy's name is Deucalion, Greek hero of the flood. That would be cool. I mean, we're getting some Greek mythology references right now, like Icarus and all that shit. I don't feel like Deucalion's that famous that Oda would name, because I know a bit about Greek mythology. I actually took a Greek mythology course in college, actually, just for one of the fun extracurriculars or whatever. I don't remember Deucalion being that famous, so I don't know if, like, it would be famous enough that Oda knows about this hero and wrote the entire fucking story around the will of Deucalion, like this obscure character, but I don't know. Chinho Wong, thanks a lot. Void Sentry backstory coming after Stella's speech. No, not after Stella's speech. I think definitely, Laugh Tale, Robin's discovery, stuff like that. Also, let's get the stream likes to 300 real quick. 100 Donuts with Faces. Love the name. Thank you for the 10. Hi, Morj. My favorite video of yours is The Dawn of One Piece Explained. Maybe it's nostalgia, but it feels like a really well put together video and the OST playing. Would you consider remaking it? One of my favorite things about that video is how well it holds up today, because we know so much more about the Dawn today. But if you go back to the time of that video being made, the Dawn wasn't it wasn't like this vastly understood concept by the reader base. It was like something that had been mentioned a couple times in the story, but most readers didn't put together, like, concepts like, oh, the significance of the Thousand Sunny, you know, stuff like that, like the Sunny, and like how much Luffy and the Straws represented the sun, because a lot of that language really started to pick up in the last 300 or so chapters. At the time that I made the video, I'd say 200 or so chapters, like from Wano onwards. At the time that I made the video, a lot of those concepts were really, really fresh, because they just weren't as overt in the story. Like, if you told readers, like, around chapter 400 or something like that, hey, Luffy's supposed to represent the sun, people would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because the imagery and symbolism of that was so subtle and so underplayed. It was really, really, really soft stuff throughout the story up to that point. So I really love that video. I don't think I would ever remake it, just because I don't think it's as catchy for people now, because the Dawn is so talked about. So even though I could make a much better version of it, I don't think it would necessarily catch on as well, because I think we just hear about the Dawn so much. Like, so many videos people make titled Dawn this, Dawn that, etc. So it wouldn't be... I just don't think it's something that would have the same impact on readers if I made it now. Or viewers if I made it now. Pen Pal, thanks a lot. Hope you're doing well. For the 14, thank you. And hope you're doing well and enjoy the time back home. Do you think the Straws should or shouldn't have gotten a strong female fighter? Closer to Zoro and Sanji level. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Look, I've talked about this before. One Piece, it has phenomenal female characters. Like, I think that Nami and Robin are two of the best written shonen female characters, especially during their origin arcs, I would say. In their origin arcs specifically, and their actual stories, right? They're two of the best written female shonen characters you're going to find, period. I think in the broader scheme of One Piece, if you look aside from, like, good writing and just straight up, like, strength, One Piece is probably the worst shonen manga that I can think of when it comes to actually strong female characters, like, in terms of abilities, you know? Because if you were to make, like, a top, like, not even top 10, if you were to make, like, a top, like, I think One Piece was behind the times even when it came out, like, compared to the big three in terms of having, like, actually strong female characters, like top tier female characters in terms of strength. And if you look at now, where things have progressed, and you see series more and more featuring really strong female characters, One Piece looks even more woefully far behind. If you were to make a top 30 of, like, strongest female characters in the story alive today, I genuinely think only Boa Hancock would make it onto that list. Like, a top 30, right? You could probably extend that to top 40 or something. Boa Hancock, Yamato, and then Yamato's got that whole discourse around her gender as well, right? And you could make the argument that Yamato wants to be a man, or like, you know, stuff like that. Like Yamato aspires to be a man or something. So I think like it is kind of crazy that like I don't know, like so setting aside even the Straw Hat Pirates not having like a few characters, like few female characters at the very top of it. One Piece in general, I think, could have used some more strong female characters. I do think it is kind of sad that like the Yonko that is pretty universally viewed as the most poorly handled Yonko, and the character that is most frequently the Yonko that is most frequently humiliated in a sense, or treated disrespectfully, also happened to be Big Mom, the only female Yonko. So I don't know. I think that that's one area where Oda could have maybe gotten with the times a little bit more and included a stronger female character somewhere down the line. He's cool with writing really, really impactful, well-written female characters. Like Vivi, we all know is going to be a very important character for the end of the story. But I think Oda has strayed away from like actually having strong female characters, like physically strong, like combat strong. So that is just something where it maybe would have been nice for Oda to get with the times a bit more, especially as the series progressed. Maybe Yamato is one of his efforts to do that. Although, again, the whole Odin thing and I want to be a man, or I would consider myself a man, etc. Reflexy, thanks for being a member for 15 months. I want to hear your opinion about Usopp and Nami endgame. I think Usopp let's keep it short. I think Usopp dies endgame. I think Nami, I'll say this, if there's any romance that ever happens for Luffy at the end of the story, I think Nami's the only character that makes sense. Hancock is a gag romance interest for Luffy, not a real romance interest. I think Luffy and Nami would be the only one that makes sense if Oda wants to play to his like we know that Oda does like that idea, right? Like he always depicts Nami as like this queen in his color spreads and things like that. Strong World, the only movie that Oda wrote, was a Luffy Nami romance movie at the center of it. So we know that Oda fucking married a fucking Nami cosplayer. So we know that Oda likes that idea. He just doesn't want it to interfere with the dynamic of the crew as being more family than any romances. So, you know, I think ultimately if Nami's not set to have, if there's no ships at the end, then I think Nami at the end of the story probably, she finishes her map of the world, probably heads back to Kokoyashi Village or whatever. I don't know. I think she's a character that would probably like to go back home, you know, and live where her family used to live, all of that. Ponty, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 13 months. Hi, Morj, how come you're so sure about Imu? Really said the Strats would come to a different conclusion. Maybe there's some ambiguity. I think that there might be... I don't really know because like what to say here because to me it's just like... How do I say this? Really saying that there's some ambiguity, I imagine that there's more ambiguity to what action needs to be done next, like what might be better for the world, right? But I don't think that there's any universe where, and there's probably ambiguity to the 20 kings versus the ancient kingdom, right? That's something that Vegapunk already suggested. That's what I actually did my last video topic on. But with Imu, I don't really know what else there is to say, because it's like, what if we watched the Skypiea arc and we watched NL like kill all these people, like talk about how everybody's hands, etc., blow up the islands, try and kill everybody. Like at the end of Skypiea arc, there's no ambiguity. You're just like, okay, so NL's a really bad person. With Imu, we've already gotten that, which is we've already gotten Imu murdered all of Lulu. Like what? I don't really know what to say. It's kind of like Hitler commits the Holocaust and kills like 1 million Jews, right? Plus others. And then you're like, okay, but does that mean he's a bad person? It's already happened. Like, what Imu just did with Lucia Kingdom, he already killed everybody. He already did the genocide. Like, the genocide already happened. And he just did it because it's close. We already know why he did it. He did it because he just felt like it, because it's close, and he wanted to test out his new toy. I don't know what... You get what I'm saying? It's like... We're already past the point of seeing that Imu's just one of, if not the worst character ever. I don't really... Because he already did the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you've already done the thing and made clear why you did it, there's nothing else that really comes before it that turns you into a morally gray character, because you already did the genocide part of it for no real reason other than you wanted to test out your weapon, right? So the moral ambiguity part is gone on Emu's end. The whole conflict could be complicated, but Emu already did the really fucking bad thing for no other reason than he felt like it because he just wanted to test out his new toy, right? So the one instance we've seen of Emu means that he's basically one of, if not the worst people ever in One Piece with no discernible excuse for what he did, right? Anything else that comes before this would not make him a morally great character. That's just not how that works. Like Doflamingo, imagine if Doflamingo actually did the birdcage and killed everyone in Dressrosa. That's essentially what Emu just did. So now you're done. You've already done it. You're already bad. You know what I mean? Like, you're already inexcusably bad. There's nothing there. You know? Like, imagine if fucking, like, imagine hypothetically if the president of the United States was just woke up one day and was like, oh, we've got a new bomb? Fuck it, let's just bomb. And then they, like, look around the map, they're like, Mexico. And then they click the button to bomb Mexico and they nuke Mexico and kill everybody in Mexico. Because they're like, well, Mexico's the closest, let's fucking nuke Mexico. And then they just wake up and do that. Then you're like, wait. Have you heard the president's backstory, though? It's like, no, the president is possibly the worst, like, the worst, like, one of the, if not the worst people to ever exist. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think, I don't really know what would happen with Emu's backstory that you'd be like, you know what? He's morally gray when he killed all of those people in Lulusia Kingdom. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, I mean, that's my perspective on it. I don't really know what else there is to say on that, personally. To be fair, Mexico is close. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like hypothetically, if Joe Biden woke up tomorrow, he's like, we got a new nuke. Canada's close. Blows up all of Canada, kills everybody in Canada. Would you be like, okay, but I still think Joe Biden is morally gray if we look at his childhood or something like that? Like, no. And by the way, it's not, I'm just using Joe Biden as an example because he's currently the president. You know what I'm saying? But, like, I think it's self-explanatory. Like, Emu's not some ambiguous character. Like, the first act that Oda had him do in the entire story means that he can now never be considered a morally great character. It was pretty fucking definitive, you know? Blackbeard, on the other hand, that's a character that you introduce, and it's like, the introduction is actually a scene that makes him very complex, because it's a scene of him talking to Luffy and expressing that he has the same dreams as Luffy, and you actually feel and resonate with what Blackbeard's saying, right? Then you have the scene with Blackbeard and Ace, and Blackbeard is actually like, I didn't want to kill Thatch, but I had to because I needed to get this Devil Fruit power because I have a plan, and this plan is very important. And what he does next is bad, and killing Thatch was bad, etc., but there's complicated aspects to everything Blackbeard's doing. The next scene is Blackbeard talking to Hannibal, and about how the world is complicated, and how it's not as black and white as, like, you have to keep these prisoners in Impel Down, you can't do this, otherwise the world, like, everything about Blackbeard is complicated from start to finish, right? And he's doing really bad things, but you get the sense that it's for a purpose that he views as, like, the righteous purpose to create a better world, maybe chase the Dawn, maybe chase what Roger was trying to do, stuff like that. There's bad stuff he's doing, but moral nuance to it. Emu is just basically, again, why don't I just nuke and kill this whole island, because I just want to see if I can nuke and kill this whole island. Very, very different. Cigar Verk, thanks for the 5. All small things in the world make sense now, like why the world government wanted to kill Moria. Only person to have a floating island as a ship. I don't know if that's the only reason, but I could see that playing into it. That's an interesting little point. Joy Boy's apology to Poseidon. Yeah, I could see. Yeah. The apology to Poseidon makes sense. Until a specific time, and might want to remain separate from the normal world. Maybe that's what made Vegapunk think that Joy Boy may be bad too, and racist. I don't know about that, but I can see where you're coming from on that. May also be the reason for the ancient robot to attack Morijo 200 years ago to stop Fishman Island joining the world government so they don't have two... I love that last point. To stop the robots... Okay, I could see that. Trying to stop the world government from having Fishman Island join so that the world government doesn't have access to two ancient weapons. I could see that being a very interesting point. In between we had... JWP, thanks for the 10. I think people are hating on Roger too much. A tale full of laughs. I wish I'd been born in your time. I don't think it's as cut and dry as horrible war that Joy Boy lost to Emu. I still think Emu's evil, but I'll just say this. I think Roger, the only reason that they didn't act is because, one, like, it wasn't time. Like, you're supposed to free the world from the whatever, celestial dragons most likely. Although it does seem like it's more complex than just that. But with Roger, it sounds like literally it was not their time to do it yet. Roger actually went out doing he had his disease, so he couldn't act that quickly. 2, it sounds like you need Joy Boy to do whatever needs to be done, because Roger's like, okay, I need to have a son so that my son will be the next Joy Boy, right? So Roger's intent on making this shit happen, it's just the time's not there yet. I wouldn't be surprised if it's related to Shirahoshi, because they need 20 years for Shirahoshi to be born, grow up, etc. And Shirahoshi's the last ancient weapon to take place, and Roger just wouldn't be around during that time. So it's complicated, you know? And honestly, Roger shouldn't have gotten all the blame. What about fucking Whitebeard? Why not Whitebeard? Roger told Whitebeard everything. Whitebeard was still in his prime, but Whitebeard also didn't do shit, right? Whitebeard only did any moves against the world government once Ace was threatened. I think they both recognized that that it just wasn't the time yet, right? It just wasn't the time yet. Some shit had to happen. They both wanted Ace to be the next Joy Boy, is what it sounds like. Roger wanted Ace to be the next Joy Boy. He said, my son will be Joy Boy. Whitebeard was training Ace to be the Pirate King, also aka the next Joy Boy. There's a time in the future that these things needed to happen, and they both knew that they're not the right person to do it. If anything, though, they've set up like Crocus at the start of the Grand Line, etc. The crew is waiting, like really trains Luffy as soon as he realizes Luffy's probably the next Joy Boy. The crew, what Roger leaves behind, they're trying to facilitate everything that they read on Laughtail. It's not like they've been bums. Rayleigh did exactly what he's supposed to do. He trained up Luffy. Fucking trained up Luffy. Like, what more do you want him to do? Like seriously, like, Roger started the Great Pirate Era. Roger's crew did everything that they could possibly do to make that shit happen post Roger's death. Cigar Verk, thanks for the 5. May also be the reason for Ancient Robot to attack Marijua. Oh no, we covered this. Jose Cardenas, thanks for the 5. If the world was one big continent or a few, how do you explain islands that evolved in isolation like Little Garden and Jaya? I wonder if those evolutions took place post the sea levels coming down, or like rising up, sorry. So like Little Garden evolved dinosaurs, etc. Evolved dinosaurs, etc. like after the sea levels rose or something like that. I think that would make sense. Also, thank you for your first super ever. Jaya, I don't know. I think same thing. Like, I think over the course of the 800 years is where the island's particular climate, situations, environments really took shape. I also think that Oda's not going to be the most technical with the concept of islands and all of that stuff over the course of the series. I think he's going to be a little, like, I think he just likes the idea that, like, once we're all giant continents, but now it's a bunch of crazy, wacky, like, individual planets. Or, islands, sorry. JetsFan051, thank you for the 20. Just doing a time check real quick. Ancient Kingdom, all Ds led by a Blackbeard type D, which is why Lily betrayed them. Joyboy Third Party got involved. Joyboy Third Party got involved to help people after the fact, but failed, which is why everyone apologized and why Lily didn't join the 20 Kingdoms. That would be really interesting. I like that because that includes the Evil D storyline that we've kind of seen with, like, Blackbeard and Blackbeard's lineage there. Joyboy got involved to help people after the fact, but failed. That makes sense. That I really, really like that possibility. If there was, like, some inside problems also happening with the Ancient Kingdom that made the 20 Kingdoms want to rise up against them as well. And Emu taking advantage of that too. I think that that's very interesting. Love that idea. Sunwreath, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 7 months. Hey Morj, nice background. I'm a fan of the small scenes we've been getting of Stussy grappling with her purpose and humanity. I also wonder if this is setting up a confrontation with Kaku and Lucci. I got the sense that, like, Lucci actually really likes Kaku at this point, and I think that he cares about him. I imagine the CP9 cover story did a lot for Lucci's character in that regard, at the very least, to care about his comrades to some degree. Stussy grappling with I'm going to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the Stussy stuff because I just feel like her character's had too few scenes and bits of dialogue for me to really care about the character stuff that Oda's trying to do with her right now. I think it is a consequence of having an arc with so many different plot lines and so many different characters. I just don't really feel... It's a similar feeling to the way I felt about certain, like there were so many characters in Wano that at a certain point, like, certain individual characters, like, little little character storylines that they had or whatever, or like character conflicts or the things that they're grappling with I didn't care with, like Shinobu or something like that, you know? Gerard, thanks to the 5. Morj, I'm like an hour behind, but I hope you were on time today. Let's just say I was. Also, the broadcast definitely getting stopped next chapter, right? I don't know. I do think it'll be interrupted, the same way like Professor Clover was interrupted before he could say everything he could say. I do think it'll be interrupted, but I don't know if next chapter is going to be the cutoff point. It does feel like most of the important things that need to be said have been said. We didn't get any major bombshell this chapter, for example. Cutloaf, thanks for the 2. Do you think Pluton needs a mother flame to fire? That's a great question. I don't know if every ancient weapon would need that. I mean, Poseidon doesn't need a mother flame, obviously. She can just do it. So I don't... It might just be Uranus. It might just be Uranus. Because my sense is that, like, it's important... The mother flame concept is also very important so that Oda can hold... Like, give a reason for why the world government can't just keep firing their weapon, Uranus. But I get the sense that the Straw Hats or other characters are going to be able to get Pluton soon. Straw Hats probably by building their own via Frankie, and then either Blackbeard or Kainu or some other party being able to get the Pluton and Wano. And they need to be able to use that fairly early on. Right? So maybe that won't be as tied to Pluton, but that's a really good question. Soga King, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 5 months. Search Roger Jean Page. He's your doppelganger. I saw him in the movie Dungeons and Dragons. Very similar. Roger Jean Page? I'm kind of curious. Roger Jean Page. Oh, I know this. People have told me this one time before in a stream in the past. Isn't this guy from that series? Am I crazy? Bridgerton? Yeah, he is from Bridgerton. Because you guys have told me about this guy before. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you. Sean Easton, thanks for the 5. There are 2 potential floods Noah's Ark could have referenced. 1A or 1B. After Younger Dryas period, glaciers melted and seas rose. Thought you saw squirrel. Oh no, you're talking about up there? No, there's no squirrel there. But sorry for that was confusing back when I was looking up. Okay, I don't know about this either. Glaciers. So these are real world floods that took place. Interesting. Gunner455, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months. Wow, it's been a year already. Thank you for everything, Morj. Yeah, a full year, 12 months. Thanks so much for the support for a full year, man. Have you seen Randy Troy's video on Joyboy being a Wukong/Sulong mink? I have not. I always imagined that Joyboy would be a buccaneer. Not always, but in recent times, you know, within the last 15 chapters or so. So that's interesting. I've never heard that sort of theory. Maybe I'll check it out. Sean Easton? No. Hold on. Oh, yeah, Sean Easton. Squirrels are nasty buggers, tree rats. I think squirrels are kind of cute. I don't know, but I've never, like, held one up close. Just saw some guy with naturally wavy hair. Rank these villains. Griffith, Kira, Crollo, Shinobu. Out of my favorites, Kira's my favorite character out of those. I know that people shit on Kira a lot. No, not... Wait, Kira... Are we talking about, like, Light from Death Note, right? That's who we're talking about, right? Who's the other... Like, that's the Kira, right? Light from Death Note. I like Light from Death Note a lot as a character. I don't... He is the villain, but he's also technically the protagonist of the series. It's one of those, right? So I'm gonna set him aside, right? He's a protagonist, right? Griffith, Crollo, Shinobu. I think Griffith, then Crollo, and then I guess Shinobu. Metals. I like Light a lot. I just like that character. I was always a Light fan more than L. People shit on Light. They're like, L was way smarter. Light had all the tools and advantages. I don't feel like getting into that argument. I feel like the idea is that they're supposed to be comparable or equal. I feel like that's the idea. I get that if people want to get in the nitty gritty of who had what advantages, it seems like Light's broken because he has the Death Note, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think it's complicated. But I'm biased because I like Light better. Metal Solid Crisis. Thank you for the 20. Holy shit. Dang, Morj. You just exposed Oda hella bad, LMFAO. Oda legit cannot help but make a shit ton of pointless characters, but despite that, he's yet to make create a proper female fighter that's strong as shit and is competent. I'm not trying to I don't, like, at the end of the day, Oda's also made it very clear that I make my manga for boys. He's made that very clear in multiple interviews. That's my target audience. He's outright said, I'm not interested in catering to female readers. I personally think that that type of thinking is okay. I think you're allowed to write for a target audience. There are female writers who write storylines that cater to female audiences specifically, right? Like, and are probably just only going to feature female characters in prominent roles. I think it's okay to do what Oda's doing, and not have any, particularly strong, competent female fighters outside of, like, I guess, like, even Boa Hancock. I think it's just funny that, like, her ability, like, she's the strongest female character likely out there, either her or Yamato, and Boa Hancock, like, it's just weird because, like, Yamato wants to be a man, or wants to at least be Odin, right, and identifies as a man at the very least, so there's that. And then Hancock, she's the strongest traditionally female fighter alive in the world, and her thing is beauty, right? Her strength is her beauty. She turns people to stone because she's so fucking beautiful. I'm sure her hockey's really strong too, but that's not what's been emphasized as much as just her broken ass fruit, which is tied to her beauty and her just being really sexy. So it's just, I get that Oda can write the series to tailor whatever he wants to write to. It is for boys. It's a boys manga. That's okay at the end of the day, obviously. I just think it's, how do I say it? It's just jarringly, it's just a little jarring when you compare to basically all other manga and anime that exists. Because, like, it's like in general, shonen manga and anime, they're going to be more male skewed and stuff like that. It's going to be rare to have strong female characters in those, right? And Japan in general is known for being a somewhat, like, patriarchal society in that sense. And then you have One Piece, which is, like, 5 times more more skewed than even other traditional shonen manga in that regard. So I'm not trying to call Oda out in that regard. I don't care. That's never going to be a criticism of mine for One Piece. It just isn't. Like, I don't care. The series is for guys. It's just what it is. I don't care. I'm not going to be sitting here being like, you know what, 2 of the Yonko should be women, 2 of the Yonko should be men, or something like that. Or why don't we have more female representation in the Gorosei? I don't care about that at the end of the day. But when people bring up, like the question that prompted it was, should the Straughts have had more strong female fighters? Like, should Robin have been closer to Zoro and Sanji? And I'm just thinking, like, forget the fucking Straw Hats. Like, just on the fucking planet, you're not really going to find strong female fighters, like, if you look at most people's top 30s and stuff like that. Anyway. Sean Easton, thanks again. To counterbalance that, I do think Oda's writing for female characters like Nami, Robin, just throughout the story, like, they're really, really phenomenal characters, right? And the writing probably matters more at the end of the day. Sean Easton, thanks to the 5. Wait, there's an underground sea that is 3 times the size of the water on Earth's surface. Luffy pulling the cork to drain the ocean could happen. I've heard the Luffy pulling the cork, or even Luffy, like, going gear fifth and, like, sucking it all up with a straw and spitting it out. I do think that stuff is pretty cool. I like the cork idea because, I don't know, I think it's kind of cartoony and cool in that sense. That could be cool. Bingle the Oop, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 19 months. Yo, Morj, grats on the theory. With this confirmation, makes me wonder what kind of shit Cricket might have found diving but thought nothing of it. Again, I don't think that you're going to find stuff, like, everywhere. I think it's more scattered, you know? Things have also decayed over the 800 years, I'm sure, too. But, yeah, maybe Cricket found lots of random shit and was just like, this ain't the city of gold. Fuck these civilizations or whatever. Wakar Khan, thanks a lot. Hey, Morj, after the last few chapters, what do you think of the wishes of Odin and Momo, with one wanting to open the Wano borders, on the other wanting it closed? Momo wants it closed for the moment, which is actually correct after you read what he read, right? Odin wanted it open to welcome back Joy Boy, things like that. Momo probably realizes that Pluton is in Wano, and I believe he has that information, I forget. But Momonosuke, you can understand why right now it is important that people don't just have easy access to Wano. So Momo is correct. Odin, if you recall, when he was getting back to Wano, he was specifically saying, we need to open the borders to welcome Joy Boy. Well, look, Joy Boy returned to Wano, Luffy returned to Wano, and that worked out, even with the borders closed. Right now, I think for the moment, I do think that Momonosuke, like, he's saying that we do need to open the borders, just not yet. It makes sense because you don't want to give easy access to the Marines, Blackbeard, etc. All these characters that are going to be chasing the ancient weapons with Pluton there and Wano. I think it makes sense. And thanks for the first super, by the way. I hope that was a good answer to your question. I appreciate the first super. Dick so small, I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 5. We know that Shanks has to take Bartholomew seriously because his fleet depends on the threat behind his flag. How do you think Luffy would react to that? I don't know. I still believe that Luffy and Shanks, when they first meet, they're gonna just flex by splitting the sky together. I think that could be a cool Yonko greeting, but beyond that, I think there'll be a sense of just friendly rivalry and like, I think there'll be other shit going on. Like, I don't think that it'll be just based on that, like the Bartholomew burning the flag, that Shanks will be prompted to fight Luffy or whatever, or I think Davy backfight is the answer at the end of all things, and I think that with that being the case, there could be about more than just the Bartholomew flag thing, you know? Hasib, thanks for your first super ever. How did the Gorsei ignore a big-ass giant robot? I think it's, like, you gotta understand, the Gorsei have got a lot on their mind, right? Like, they showed up with a 10-minute timer, basically. I think the timer had already run out a bit by the time the Gorsei showed up. So they showed up. They've got a whole island. The fucking snail can be anywhere on the island, and, like, shit's going on everywhere, right? Like, yeah, there's a big-ass robot over there doing some stuff. I think the robot only really started moving a little bit after they showed up. I might be getting the time incorrect on that. Maybe I'm wrong on that. No, I'm thinking I'm wrong on that. But they show up at the island, and there's so much stuff going on, right? Like, you've got a fucking Yonko, like the reincarnation of Joy Boy, right here in front of you. And then you got these legendary giants over here. You've got all these giant ships over there doing shit. You've got Straw Hats fighting all over the island and everything like that. You need to get to the Mother Flame. You need to find York. They've got a lot of shit to do, right? So their attention is very scattered, and they're all individually doing things, right? So I think it's understandable why, right off their bat, they're not necessarily all, I think the logical thing, like, oh, and the pacifistas, like, there's so many little things that they got to take care of. They're like, we need, like, Venus Jura, okay, you get our pacifista, because that's the army that we invested, like, $5 billion of our budget into, our defense budget. So Venus Jura's taking care of that. And Mars is like, I'll find the fucking Den Den Mushi. And he goes to York, and I think that's the logical first step to trying to find the Den Den Mushi. Because York is the fucking Vegapunk that tipped them off about all this, so they go to York. So Mars is figuring that out. Then Jupiter, Warkiri, they're taking on Luffy. They're trying to fight Luffy. Right? He's the Yonko that they're trying to take care of. Saturn, he's off getting the Mother Flame, right? They've all got their own agendas. I think it makes sense, like, oh, wait, Mars can't find the Den Den Mushi or whatever. Okay, York, where is it? She realizes it's in the ancient robot. I think it follows. Like, keep in mind, this is all happening very, very fast. Like, how much has happened in the last 5 minutes, you know, since, like, just in your, like, think about how much can happen in like 5 minutes in real time for you, you know? I don't know. I'd cut them some slack on that. I think the Gorsei have been very methodical in how they're going about things. If you compare to, like, other villain groups, like, imagine we had the fucking Toby Roper running around here. They'd be, like, Ulti would be yelling about Pepe and some shit, you know? Like, I think the Gorsei have been about as methodical and quick as they can be. What is this? Zote, thanks for the 5. Awesome parallels between Vegapunk and Frankie this chapter. I agree. I'll talk about that more in this chapter, in the chapter review that comes out. Really calling back to Frankie's Love Your Creations backstory with the Mother Flame. Yes, because even though the Mother Flame was misused by the world government, much like Frankie's battleships, to hurt people, at the same time, Vegapunk created it with the good intent, and he still believes that his Mother Flame can be used to make for a better world, right? So the responsibility behind how your creations are used, definitely a big part of this. Metal Solid Crisis, thanks for the 10. It's one of those things that once you notice, you can't stop analyzing it, and it is what it is. I don't care, to be honest, and from the looks of it, neither does Oda. Bro, legit, can't be bothered over 25 years. Yeah, like, I'm not going to ever use that as a critique of One Piece, for sure. That's not a thing that matters to me in that regard. But I can understand why, like, it could be, like, a thing to comment on for some people, you know? And I think it's a fair thing to comment on, you know? Let's see. I'm mostly caught up here. Okay. Third Leg Grizz, welcome to the Pirate King. Make sure that I appreciate the support. Make sure that you get your submission in for the podcast so that you have your topic or question answered on the upcoming Pirate King podcast. You should be able to find the submission under posts, community posts basically, and it'll be for Pirate King tiers. So just type your question in, anything that you want asked, answered, or whatever, and I'll be answering it over the course of an hour and a half long podcast that'll be coming out next week. So just make sure you get your thing in, ideally by the end of this weekend, your submission in. But thank you for the support. Chris says, Miss Super Morj. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Let me open up the Supers tab again. Make sure that I'm getting everything. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. I see it now. Oh, wait, I missed a couple. I missed Chris and Ignorant Weed. Let me get you two. I'm sorry, Chris. Thank you for the 10, though. Thank you for the 10, and then I'm sorry about the additional super you had to do, the additional 2. I'm sorry about that. In the future, like, if I miss something, I'm sorry about that. I'm reading through a lot, but please just spam, I guess, that you missed something, that I missed something, and hopefully a mod will get my attention. But I'm sorry about that. Chris, thanks for the 10. What is the point of a king/god if nobody worships/knows you? Emu lives completely unknown. Why even bother rising to power with no glory? Can't even show your godly status. Fear being unmasked. Why? I think different people can take power for different reasons. Like some, like NL, want to be worshipped like a god by everybody. Emu probably lives, like, Emu gets a few things, right? He gets probably all the luxuries that celestial dragons do, right? We know that he's got some servants because there was a servant that came to him, his room in the butterfly room, and like said shit to him or whatever, right? So we can imagine that he gets all the luxuries that celestial dragons do. So he gets everything that he wants in terms of, like, you know, his own personal luxuries, lifestyle, etc., right? 2, he's immortal, so he gets to do, unlike the other celestial dragons, he gets to do this forever, right? Theoretically, right? And 3, he gets, I suppose, like, to make sure that this is never threatened, right? The status that he's created for himself, because he dictates from up above, like, okay, Gorsei, take care of this, take care of this, take care of this. He doesn't even really have to do anything in terms of his rule, because the Gorsei really take care of everything for him, for the most part. Yeah, so, like, what more could you really want? Like, I guess if you want the adoration and the worship, that part is missing. But I guess the bigger thing is just the sense of, I get to live a paradise-type lifestyle, right? Kind of like Orochi does in the Flower Capital. But I'm immortal, so I do this forever. And 3, I have absolute power, so, like, nobody can really threaten this status of mine, right? I think it works out. I think that's a godlike existence, minus just the public knowledge. Ignorant Weed, thanks a lot. Giant robot looks a lot like Oars. Yeah, that is a big factor that people have, like, mentioned a few times. I don't really know what to make of that. I really don't. Don't know what to make of that. Don't know, because we know there's certain things, like with the Oni tribe, there's some significance there that we still don't fully understand. Even just the Onigashima, right? Marco mentioned that there's something special about Onigashima that we still don't know quite yet what it is. So there's other factors to things that have to do with, like, that sort of horned, horned tribe, horned depictions, etc. Monkey D Zoro, thanks for the 2. That looks like it's your first super ever. I'm sorry, it looks like you didn't manage to write the comment for that, so I'm sorry about that. It ate up your comment. Hasib, thanks a lot. The Gorsei said that Luffy left Marijua, left Marijua and never reached Alabasta. Is she the same person in the portrait Sanji saw while salvaging? I don't think that's Lily. I think a lot of people really, really read into the portrait that Sanji saw there. I personally think, like, a lot of people are like, oh, Sanji views her as his mom, or, like, similarities to his mom and stuff like that. And now people are saying that, oh, Sanji saw it and it's Lily. I really think people are looking into that maybe a bit too much. Like, not everything Oda's doing is supposed to be, like, foreshadowing or lore reveals. I think some of it's just good writing, you know, like, more, I think, like, how do I say this? Good writing in the sense that, like, the good storytellers or mangaka or writers will just do this, like, small moments that, you know, are like, small moments, right? Like, Sanji, we know that he cares a lot about women. You're, like, we're exploring the wreckage of the ship. You're kind of allowing the significance of the wreckage of the ship play into the moment, right? So you have Sanji looking at the photo of a woman who died, likely from the ship, right? Sanji cares a lot about women. It's a sad moment for him. it just adds to the realism of the scene that they're exploring the wreckage of a ship where a lot of people died. I think that's all there is to it. I don't think there needs to be anything more to that personally. NewX7, thanks for the 2. How's the Wano video coming along? I've not done any extra work on it, but I do still feel confident that I'll be able to do it before Egghead Island, just because, 1, Egghead Island is moving along very slowly. 2, Oda mentioned that it'll be like way later this year that we reach Elbaf. I think I'll be able to do it before we finish Egghead Island. I think there's more stuff to finish out in Egghead Island at the moment. The breaks are happening a lot. I think I'll be able to do it before Egghead wraps in the manga. I'm also able to clear up time a bit more now nowadays. That's partly why I was able to travel back to Maryland, at least for this weekend and Monday and Tuesday. Good Life, thanks a lot. Why do you need ancient weapons to beat the world government? They don't have ammunition for their own. Roger and Whitebeard and crews and allies can't beat 5 elders and Emu. So I don't think that you... one, we don't know if... Oh, you're saying they don't have ammunition for their own? And you're saying Roger, Whitebeard, crews, allies can't beat elders and Emu? One, we don't know how strong Emu is. 2, it wasn't just 5, like, it's not just 5 elders and Emu, right? The world government, at the time, right? At the time of Roger's era, right? The world government is Emu, likely stronger than Roger, Whitebeard, whoever, right? So Emu, 5 elders who so far, like, fucking Yonko Luffy can't even fucking damage Warkiri. We haven't seen, like, for all we know, Venus, Juro, and Mars, they're also seemingly possibly Yonko level, right? Just from what they're showing so far. Like, these are fucking, like, high-level Conquerors, Haki users. Like, Vegapunk can do, like, Venus, Juro can do, like, Mihawk level stuff. Not saying he's as strong as Mihawk, but, you know, like, they're all in that ballpark, right? It seems like the Elders are at least Admiral level, right? So just Emu alone and the Gorosei, that's hefty. That's like Emu plus like a mix of Yonko Admiral level characters, right? And then on top of that, you've still got the Gods Knights. So keep in mind, fucking like Prime Shanks seems to have been the leader of the Gods Knights, at least something similar. Like a lot of people fucking speculate that Figarland Garling is the one that gave Whitebeard the wound that aches whenever he looks at Shanks, right? So you got the Gods Knights. That's just like that's like probably its own whole Yonko crew level strength of group of characters right there on top of that, right? And then on top of that, you've got the entire Marine forces. Sengoku, Garp, the admirals of the time, right? And then all the vice admirals, etc. Like, no, like if you throw Whitebeard, Roger, etc. together, they're not beating the entirety of Emu, the Elders, all of that, right? It's just not happening. There's no point in history that you could do it. It's gonna take literally Luffy, right? Like, we're gonna see what it takes to beat the world government, right? We're about to see what it takes to beat the world government. To beat the world government, you're gonna need, like, at least a Roger level crew. Like, Luffy will be beyond Roger by the end of the story. I think the Straw Hats as a whole will be beyond the Roger Pirates at the end of the story. You're gonna need the Roger Pirates level of crew, right? And then on top of that, like the revolutionary armies and all the nations and allies that Luffy's made over the course of the series, right? Roger could not have amassed that, at least during his time, most likely, because that's why they realized, like, we just can't do that. We don't have enough time to do this stuff. You do need the ancient weapons, right? Oh, by the way, Poseidon is important, not just because of the, like, as far as you understand, Poseidon and having the Noah and moving the Noah, etc., it's just important to the story in a way that we don't fully understand yet. Flooding matters for sure, but for whatever reason, Roger was like, I have to wait till Shirahoshi or whatever. It's also possible that they straight up didn't know that Uranus doesn't have the charges at that point in time. Like, they might have just not known that Uranus can't be used just yet. So I think that's a possibility as well. But I think in just terms of like there's two aspects, right? Roger's era, they just did not have the manpower to take on Emu, the world government, and all that stuff, right? That's one. Two, they likely read the poneglyphs and were like, oh, we need Poseidon so that the people of the world can be saved because the role of Poseidon seems to be to have Noah be moved around to save the people of the world should Emu start firing Uranus to blow up the sea and start raising the sea levels, right? So Poseidon kind of counteracts Uranus's effects in that way. So Roger might have been like, well, we need Poseidon to be matured so that we can counteract once Uranus is used, right, to cancel those two out. Roger may not have known during his time that Uranus doesn't have the charges necessary to do that. That's also a big possibility. as to why Roger waited. Third Leg Grizz, thanks for the 5, and thank you for the first super ever. First time catching stream. Thank you for joining in. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Do you think we'll see more Straw Hat team-up attacks in the future? What's your favorite team-up attack so far? I think I really, like, favorite team-up attack ever, I think I'm always will be somewhat partial to the Monster Trio all attacking the Pacifista at the same time. I thought that was really cool. I've liked the Strats versus Ors fight a lot, but I think I like Strats versus Pacifista in a small way more, just because it was, like, tighter, quicker, and you got Luffy involved too. Luffy and the Monster Trio all fighting together. I thought that was cool. More team-up attacks from the Strats. I thought that if it would happen again, it would be against Kaido. And we did get a team-up against Kaido, it's just that the Strats weren't involved. From here on, I don't know, because, like, from here on, you can kind of imagine the individual matchups. Like, when they fight the Blackbeard Pirates, I think they're all just going to be doing their own thing, right? I think Imu is a Luffy opponent, not a whole Straw Hat crew opponent. I think Zoro and Sanji will be fighting Gorosei, stuff like that. So, I think, I don't know, team-up attacks, I don't know how many more we're going to get of those. Good Life, thanks a lot. So, Roger laughed, Wallahi were finished. Sorry if I mispronounced Wallahi. Wallahi, we're finished. We're fucked. That'd be funny. Alright, guys, I'm gonna wrap stream in the next 5-ish minutes. So, just any last questions you have. Holy shit! Holy shit. Well, we might go a little bit longer. Because Aiden Burge, thank you for the 50. Holy shit. We will probably go a little bit longer. Morj, any thoughts? Thank you so much, man, for the support. Morj, any thoughts on One Piece starting to cross into a flat world setting, as well as the similarities between Tartaria and old world history? Look at your thumbnail of the video you created named The True World of One Piece is Buried Under the Sea. Okay, I gotta look up some shit just because you messaged it, right? Tartaria, what is that? Tartaria. World's largest architectural conspiracy. I'm gonna be disappointing you, man, because I don't actually know. Old world history. Tartaria, old world history. Focus on past events in Africa, Asia, and Europe. Okay, I'm looking at Tartaria. It seems like a big-ass map. I don't believe in a flat Earth. I'll just say that right now. I don't think the One Piece planet is a flat Earth either because the One Piece planet, we know it works as a globe, right? The Strats are sailing from one end of the globe to the other. I think enough is established for us to understand that that is the case, right? And the red line, the way that it works, is contingent on the One Piece planet not being a flat world, but a circular globe, right? So I don't have a ton to say on that, unfortunately. I just don't think the One Piece planet being a flat world makes sense, unless you're getting at something else here. But the Tartaria stuff is interesting. I've never really seen this. I don't know what this means. We can read... Let's see what it means real quick. Tartaria is... Believers in the Tartaria... Okay, hold on. Believers in... What the fuck? Believers in the Tartaria theory believe that the elaborate temporary fairgrounds built for events like the Panama Pacific International Exposition in San Francisco were really the capital ancient cities of a fictional empire. What? Okay, I don't know if this is flat Earth stuff or not. It's a fantastical tale. Oh, so a lot of people believe that the great buildings and architectures are... Oh, I see what you're saying. Artifacts of a globe-spanning civilization called the Tartarian Empire, which was somehow erased... Oh, shit! Okay, this makes more sense. This makes more sense. So you're saying that a lot of the landmarks and great architectural things that we see in the One Piece world are evidence of a great globe-spanning empire civilization, in this case the Ancient Kingdom, in the real world, the Tartarian Empire, which was somehow erased from the history books. That's interesting. These buildings, people believe that these buildings are the keys to the past, hidden by malevolent actors. That's fucking interesting. Whether or not Oda's drawing from that at all or not, there are striking similarities between, you know, how the story of One Piece has gone and how things have developed in the One Piece world. There are a lot of things we could see in the One Piece world today, like maybe Onigashima is evidence of things that happened in the Ancient Kingdom, things like that. I could definitely see that. That is really, really interesting. I don't know about flat world setting, though. Ignorant Weed, thanks for the 5. I just finished the Hunter x Hunter anime and want more. There's a manga. You can keep reading into the Dark Continent. Do you think I should start manga from where anime left off, or any pros to start off from beginning? I definitely think picking up the manga from where the anime left off is going to be better. I don't think there's any purpose to starting over from the beginning, unless you want to and just have time to kill. Kirby and Hales Jotaro, thanks a lot. Hi, Herr Morj. I've been coloring my One Piece manga since February, and I'm finally at Arlong Park. Shit, man, you've been coloring your One Piece manga, like physical volumes? That's really cool. I would love to one day own the colored manga that you can read online, which is officially colored by Shueisha. I would love if those were produced in like physical volumes that I could one day read, but I just don't think it's ever going to happen. All right, guys. We're probably going to call it in the next couple minutes, 5 minutes or something. Real world stuff Oda uses in the story. Next couple minutes, I think. It's described as the QAnon of architecture, LMFAO. I mean, I'm not saying I believe any of that in the real world, but I definitely believe that it is similar to what we're seeing. Like, in the fictional world of One Piece, it is kind of what we're seeing. Like, lots of evidence of past great ancient civilization that has been erased by malevolent actors who are trying to erase history, right? Or trying to change history. Happened for Dragon Ball? Dragon Ball got official colored volumes produced? Just take pictures every 3 seconds of the anime. That's funny. Oh, Razvan, thank you very much. Razvan Antonescu. I wonder that is the One Piece missing. That is the one piece missing from Roger laughing and a huge war that flooded the earth. Thank you for the stream. Don, hug you. Thanks for the hugs so far throughout the stream, Razvan. I appreciate that. The one piece missing from Roger laughing and a huge war that flooded the earth. I'm not really sure how to interpret that question, unless you mean like there's one piece of history that... I still think that the One Piece is bigger than just an answer to what happened in history. The One Piece should be a tangible sort of treasure, right? So I'm curious, because I did think that the One Piece itself would be the giant ancient continent that is revealed to have been flooded and is under the ocean, but it seems like there's more to it than that, because we found out about that fairly early. Alright, guys. I think we're going to call it right about here. I'm going to give it 30-ish seconds. Knights is asking Morj, what do you think of Emu getting the immortality operation, but it didn't give perennial youth? That's why he covers himself. Oh, that would be interesting if Emu's just like Darth Sidious, like this really old-ass looking dude. I think that's interesting, but I also don't know if he literally covers himself or if that's just how Oda has been depicting him as a silhouette so far. Oh, they gave up on the colored volumes for Dragon Ball pretty quickly? I'm surprised. I mean, I don't know. I thought Dragon Ball has enough fans that people would just eat that shit up and buy it. I think it also depends. I don't know. So One Piece, if you read the One Piece colored manga, it is just so, like, Oda's world is a very vibrant, dreamlike world. I think it just translates way, way, way better to color. Like, I can't go back and read the black and white One Piece manga. I only read, like, I can, obviously, but when I'm rereading, I will always do the colored, because I think colored does so much more, like, colored adds so much more to One Piece. There's some series, like Chainsaw Man has a colored version out. I've read it. I enjoy Chainsaw Man colored, but I genuinely think it works better in black and white, just because of the way it uses white space, minimal space, things like that. I think Berserk works better in black and white. I just think there's some series that, like, yeah, color adds a lot to them in a sense, but I think the true essence of them makes sense more in black and white, right? I don't think One Piece is one of those. I think One Piece colored really, really is a fucking... there's almost a huge dimension to it missing when you're not reading the colored version for me at this point. So I just read the online colored version whenever I'm rereading. Chino Wong says, will you watch the Netflix remake anime of One Piece, Morj? Yes. In fact, I'll probably react to those episodes. I have been super excited for the Netflix anime remake. I just know it's going to be a while before it comes out, so it's not on my mind, but I will probably be watching that, and I'll probably do reactions to that. Breezy2X, thanks a lot. Just got here. Why the fuck are you on your porch? This is not my porch. I am currently back in Maryland. I'm at my editor's house. I got sent outside to... Well, not sent outside. It's really nice weather, but... I'm just streaming from outside his house, basically. I'm actually using his laptop, his mic, his webcam, all of that. Yeah, it's just nice outside. So I'm streaming basically on his porch, in the back of his house. Amartya Sin, Sinha, thanks for the 2. Is the Ancient Kingdom named One Piece? I hope that's not the answer, because I think that's kind of a boring answer. I just think that's kind of a boring answer. It is a possibility now that I think about it, but I think it's kind of a boring answer. Phantom Greyfire is saying it was too expensive to produce and the sales were disappointing at the time. Since then, we've been getting more digital colored officially in English, but it's few and far between. I wonder if One Piece would buy up quick, because if you read the One Piece colored online, it really is a pleasure to read. Like, it blows the black and white completely out of the water. Dragon Ball, I feel like, because One Piece, like, the backgrounds are often very vibrant, etc. as well, and the locations and the locales are very, very beautiful. I can't wait to read Egghead Island in color, you know? You read any arc, like, fucking, Wano in color is beautiful, Skypiea in color is beautiful, Fishman Island, like, every arc is just so much more beautiful in color in One Piece. I feel like Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball, a lot of the artwork is, a little more barren, I think, in terms, like, choreography obviously is beautiful, but backgrounds, etc., I think it is a bit more barren. I don't think it's as rich as One Piece, and therefore I think adding color to it, you're not adding that much more to Dragon Ball. I think adding color to One Piece adds a tremendous amount of value to the One Piece reading experience, like night and day. Alright, everybody, the Slith Eye says better setup than normal streams. That's interesting. Maybe I could try streaming from, because I have a little balcony at my apartment, I could try shooting outside going forward. I could see about that. Alright, guys. Chinho Wong says, editor of Morj, real champion. He'll probably like to hear that. I don't know if he's watching the stream right now. He's over there, inside. Alright. Yeah. I think I'm going to call the stream here. And yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, all the support, obviously. Watch out for the full chapter review that's coming out tomorrow. And yeah, beyond that, Pirate King Podcast. If you want to submit a question or anything like that, one, if you want to support the channel, but two, if you want to get access to the hour and a half long podcast that'll be coming out at the start of next week, which is filled with me answering your guys' questions very in-depth, more in-depth than I do on streams, with you guys asking about any topic ranging from One Piece, other anime, manga, sports, movies, TV shows, general life, etc. You can submit your questions by joining Pirate King tier, submitting on the Pirate King community posts, which you'll see as soon as you join Pirate King tier, and you can get your question in, and I'll be answering it fairly in-depth over the course of this upcoming podcast that I'm about to record. Just get it in over the weekend. So that's what I'll leave you guys with. Yeah, and we had some new Pirate King members join today. So if you guys want to hop on that train, please go ahead. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you all later.